The following presentation
of the Eric McKenna Project is sponsored by
no one.
Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
Hey man,
I'm good. Let's
have
go.
some fun.
Yeah.
Everything's laid back here, man.
Yeah.
Because we're, believe it or not, I guess right now we're rolling.
Sure. hey.
You just got back from Jackson Hole.
Yes.
All right, so talk to me about that. I see that.
Yeah, I got the attire. You know, like if you go out there, you got to get something. It's like I find it so funny. You get back to Pittsburgh and it's all about the Steelers and the Penguins.
What's wrong with that?
And then
you're a Steeler fan.
I am,
right?
100%.
We're going to get there.
Yeah,
okay.
that was yeah.
We're gonna get there.
But the point is that you get here and everybody's wearing that because that's what they associate the city with. And then you look out there. There's no sports teams or anything, so everything is about the brand of the place.
Yeah.
So everybody wears the Jackson Hole, like the baseball cap or the hoodie.
Is that an American thing, or do you folks do that in your country too?
I think, yeah, we do it. I don't think as proudly as you guys do.
I don't know what it is about Americans. Like we try to identify with shit. Like we're,
for sure.
Like we're so parochial.
Well, it's so nice because you guys are so proud of your country in general. You know, there's that pride.
I think so. Yeah, for sure.
Which is pretty cool. But as we're going, sir, I've got a gift for you. A little SafariSmiths water bottle.
Man,
Yeti.
you have to do that.
Yeah. That's what we give our clients out there.
This is a Yeti, too. This is like the good stuff. I don't know if I deserve this, man. It's just like really appreciative.
That's just a bit of thanks for having us and having me back.
Dude, this is a blast for me. I'm eating this stuff up. Yeah. Thank you, buddy. I will definitely use this for sure.
Yeah.
Yeti, you can't go wrong with it. The products are pretty good. That's very nice, though.
Yeah, it came out well. So...
Jackson Hole talked about it.
So Jackson Hole, I mean, for me...
Why did you guys decide to go there? Was it just a vacation trip?
No, it's the wildlife. It's the wildlife. So I previously went up to Gardner, Montana, January of last year, and then like deep winter, because I'd never seen that amount of snow. Being from South Africa, it's not something that...
You mean you don't get snow down there?
Well, we do. It's actually busy snowing in the mountains there at the moment, which is really weird because it's meant to be summer.
Now, do you go up there and experience it, or you just see it in the distance?
I was lucky enough to have my parents drive us around in certain areas, but I never experienced like deep kind of snow and then see wildlife in that environment. So that's
a whole different ballgame.
But how much fun, hey?
That's a whole different ballgame, buddy.
It's different. It's completely out there for me, and I think that's why we decided to go back. And then I've been to Jackson Hole in the summer, just to see the mountains and the scenery, and then we wanted to go back. We were hoping for more snow.
Okay.
And the ski resorts I think are stressing a little bit out there, but beautiful wildlife, and also at this time of the year, the moose are moving from up high into the lower regions. So in one day we saw over 30 different moose individuals within an area.
That's crazy.
So pretty cool. So that's why we go there. It's for the wildlife and the scenery.
How many times have you been there?
This is my second time in Jackson Hole. Okay. Yeah.
And you were here last time. You said it's one of the most beautiful places you've ever seen.
It is.
You've been around.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get around. Me being
around
like, all over. Yeah.
Take that for what it is in your own interpretation.
Yes. Yeah. We'll let you decide.
What are you drinking over there, buddy?
A little bit of Jameson, so whiskey and some club soda.
You talked about being stranded in. And during the pandemic, you were stranded in Ireland, right?
Yes.
You didn't pick up that Jameson habit there, did you?
Yeah. There's not much else to do there, and they make good whiskey, so might as well enjoy it.
Absolutely. And it's, that's, and you were obviously, quote unquote, stuck there. I mean, there's worse places to be stranded, right?
Oh, yeah. I can think. Count a couple. Yeah.
So just to let folks know what's going on with you, you are actually flying back home tonight.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Remind everybody. I'm sorry, tomorrow. Yeah. And remind everybody where home is for you.
So home is South Africa, on the east coast, just north of Durban. It's going to take me roughly 28 hours or so of travel to get back, with 14 of that just being one flight from Atlanta back to Johannesburg. It's better actually going back because it's 2 hours shorter. Coming here is 16 hours.
Because the winds, they call that?
The Gulf
winds,
Stream,
the trade winds, whatever that is. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting back. It's meant to be nice weather when I get back. So some summertime golfing, also getting back out to the national parks to do some summertime photography there. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Everything
is flipped, and that's for folks that live their entire life, never travel or think about it. In the southern hemisphere, everything is the months and seasons are flipped.
Yeah, for sure.
I have friends in Australia, and like even 20 years ago, I was chatting with them about business, and they were saying how they were. I don't think they were going in the snow in Australia, but they had mentioned that it was cold. It was like 98 degrees here, and that was their winter. And I just all of a sudden it just hit me like, wow, they're just flipped from us.
It's literally just a complete reverse. It's insane.
So Santa Claus comes in July.
Technically he's meant to. I don't know if he's got like 4x4 tires on his sled when he gets to Africa in December, but yeah. So
is he ever late getting down there? Because I know we insist that he comes to North America first.
Oh, of course, you're the first world. You get everything else.
Spoiled bastards that we are.
Yeah,
man, but you're going back, so and that's tomorrow afternoon, so just let folks know how does this work. I mean, you are talk about what you do and how the operation of your business works.
Yeah, sure. So from the previous episode that I did with you, we discussed the safari industry sort of quite broadly. So my specific entity in this is private guiding. So I'm there with you from start to finish of your trip. I meet you in country, so your international flight. Unless I'm across the pond here, then I would fly with.
Right.
But I meet you in, let's say, in Dar es Salaam, which is one of the biggest cities in Tanzania.
Right.
I then meet you there, and then I fly out with you to the bush. So I'm there for you to help you with your photographic skills. That's of all levels. You don't have to be a competent photographer. It can be on an iPhone.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's all levels. And then so I'm there to help, and then I deal obviously with the lodges for you, so to make sure that all your needs are met.
Okay.
And then I fly out to all the different locations.
Almost like a personal valet.
Pretty much. It's private, it's personal guiding. It's to add like a personal element to a safari, so that you're not sort of just dumped in the middle of the Serengeti.
That's probably a
and
good thing.
Yeah, you don't know what to expect, So it's to bring people and make them a bit more comfortable and be there for all those little wants that they need in that kind of environment.
It sounds like for a lot of people looking inwards, probably an absolute dream job.
Yeah,
because people know. I mean, I'm sure for you because you're living your passion, but I'm saying outwardly looking in, it's like, wow, what a fucking cool job.
No, I mean it's pretty amazing. It does take you, however, quite far away because you're always at somebody else's beck and call.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, being out there, educating people about the wildlife, talking sort of more about how how to integrate with the local culture, that kind of stuff. So there's lots of customs that you need to learn on how to greet people, that kind of stuff. So
I bet
it's an assistance through this process.
The idea is to maneuver correctly in a different culture, right?
No, for sure. So I mean, like I had to learn American culture when I got here. We think we know American culture from where I come from,
we don't even know what American culture is.
Yeah, no. So it's also the way you say things, the way you portray yourself. It can be very different in different situations.
Okay, so speak on that for a second, because in America, I mean, you can just go across the river here and see a whole different type of dialect
100%
than you would see 30 miles down the river or on this side.
Mm-hmm.
And then from state to state, from region to region.
For sure. Yeah.
And I'd imagine that's no different than any other country.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah, you're 100% right on that. I mean, I sometimes battle to understand everybody all the time here because you guys do speak so differently. You're all speaking English, but it sounds so different. Well, that is debatable.
The King's English, the King must have rolled over in his grave thousands of times.
I must have. I know. I mean, for me, I often get called an Australian here.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to say I'm not an Australian. I'm a South African.
We're not always the most sophisticated when it comes. Americans are. I think we're very generous people, and I love my country.
For sure.
I do feel though, we sometimes get so involved, and we kind of sometimes think the entire world. The only world is within the continental 48.
Yes.
And we're myopic in our view of the earth in general.
Sure.
I recognize that as an American.
As an American. No, I absolutely love America. I love being here. I love people in general. People are often so welcoming and so interested about where does this kid from Africa come from, and how did I get here and my journey, so I love it. I love telling my story, and people always find it so amazing, and people are so welcoming to me here. I love being in the States. I think my long-term plan would be to move here because
really?
Yeah, for sure. It's so nice having availability to stuff really fast. So
What do you mean?
So even like let's take Amazon delivery, you can pay for next day shipping. In Africa, that's not how things work. It'll come when it comes. So it arrives when it arrives.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're always looking at sometimes 4 days to a week for something to arrive, depending on where it's coming from. So it's nice to have that sort of.
We're spoiled.
Having that spoiled life, and I know that's not like that for everybody here. I'm lucky enough in a situation that I've got to meet people that are comfortable, so I can see what the American dream is, essentially.
Right.
As a guy from South Africa,
Got it.
you see this, and that's what you want in life, so it makes me work harder for that goal.
Right.
It's a goal that I might be able to set up here one day, and live that American dream, essentially.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Back to the languages and differences. Yes. It seems such like a huge, I don't know, like almost a impossibility to be so well versed in all the different languages. I mean, with your travel, I mean, what's the language component for you?
So it's quite difficult. East Africa, even, I mean, as we're talking about sort of language differencing and so on, and from different areas, you got to look at even Swahili, which everybody jokes about Swahili in the movies, but it's a very, very intricate language.
Okay.
And that's what the Tanzanians, Kenyans speak. But Swahili between Kenya and Tanzania varies quite largely, because obviously regional split and that kind of stuff.
How do you handle that?
I use the guides on the ground, really. So you're on the ground handler when I land there with clients, or if I'm just going to go photograph to communicate with the locals. I've picked up a couple words along the way. However, I do sometimes find that I obviously need a lot of assistance, because I didn't grow up in East Africa. So
Right.
So it's just using the correct people on the ground to get through that. Yeah.
So back to your business, when you take on a client,
Yes.
Included in that fee for is you basically being their caretaker pretty much for the entire.
Yeah,
it's a funny word to use, but almost from the moment they land, right?
From when they land until they leave, I'm going to be there every step of the way to make sure that you get the correct taxi to the correct hotel or lodge.
The behind the scenes of setting all of that up,
yes,
that has to be pretty involved.
It's intense. Hey? Like, I had to live in Tanzania, in East Africa for a while, just to get used to the people, the customs, the culture, so that I know I can 100% go and take clients into that environment and be comfortable with the situation.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've taken it that far. We've gone and learnt local culture, local customs, to make sure that when you travel with us, being SafariSmiths, that it's seamless.
Right.
It's this experience of a lifetime that for some people might only be once in a lifetime. For others, it'll be a repeat experience.
Right.
But that it's completely seamless. It runs smoothly, and we've gone and done all the research, been to all these safari camps. We've done the experiences before we say that we're going to sell it to a client.
It just seems like, from my business background, just being a really, how do I say this? There seems to be a hell of a lot of planning required, and the organization behind, from everything, from all just the logistics in general.
Yeah, just getting there is difficult.
Yeah.
So us having
customs
done it, us having done this kind of travel now, it makes me feel more comfortable with my clients as well. They can see that I'm relaxed in that environment, so they immediately relax and enjoy themselves.
I think it's almost, having this kind of service, almost it would be a requirement if you really want to enjoy the experience. I mean, just plopping yourself down in a strange country and then getting out into the bush, and then without any kind of significant guidance outside of someone you hire locally there that you haven't vetted out, right?
Exactly. You don't know. But that's what's happened is, essentially, this business model came around for us because people would land in an African country, and they would have paid all this money, and then there's no trip.
Wow. They get taken.
It literally the money just goes into an account and it's gone, and you land there excited for this safari experience.
There's no one there for you.
And there's no one there for you. And it's happened more than we'd like to
yeah, what government bodies are in place to try to get your money back or fight on your behalf? Nothing. It's just it's
zero. So
what a risk.
we came in, my side of the industry, we've come in to try and settle that, to make sure that people have got an honest booking system, that you looked after when you're in country, and then you have this amazing seamless experience.
Yeah, I would think it'd be just the most horrifying thing imaginable to think. I would imagine for some people, this is going to be a once in a lifetime thing. They might have saved for years to do this.
Sometimes they save for a lifetime. You know, it's a whole life that you're putting into one experience, and it can go so right and it can go so wrong when you're out there. So you've got to be so careful with what you're doing. And there's other companies that like my own that do the same thing, and mad respect to those guys. A lot of those guys actually started and paved the way for us, us being quite a new company. So we've taken and learned from those companies on how to do things as well, paying attention to how they plan things, you know, having the right people on the ground. So a lot of the guys that have forged the way for the rest of us took those risks initially that we just had to jump on, you know, and then we had to go and learn the culture and so on ourselves. So
when the idea to do this, you said, basically came out of the pandemic era, right?
Yes.
So it's a really interesting time to start a travel related business in general, am I right?
Yes. It is quite weird.
What do you I don't know, like even the logistics of getting their vaccines versus non-vaccines, what are the arrangements now for the travel internationally? Are most countries requiring folks to be vaccinated?
Yeah, so a lot of people actually, like for example, before I come here or go back, they will actually check that I'm vaccinated. I think it's via airline.
Okay.
But a lot of the countries, like for instance, South Africa doesn't require you to be vaccinated, but they can then quarantine you for 2 or 3 weeks if they feel so.
Wow.
If you're coming in and you're not vaccinated, yeah, I mean, everybody's got a personal choice in the matter. For me, that travels a hell of a lot. I actually didn't really have a choice. I had to go and do this. And I traveled through a lot of the pandemic with not having the availability of a vaccine, where my business partner, Jen, being from the States, had the vaccine right off the bat and made her feel so much more comfortable traveling.
100%.
Where I was always at risk. So the minute I got my opportunity, I just went and got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would hope that that as we move through this pandemic and things move past COVID, I hope, and I'm optimistic that we will. If you can really, you know, cut your teeth and figure this out during a pandemic, I mean, it should only be much better for you once things loosen up, right?
You know, a lot of, and sorry to them, but a lot of small businesses that were doing what we do had to unfortunately close down. They couldn't keep afloat. So there was a gap in the market that we looked at and we saw.
Got it.
But we had time to plan because the world shut down. So there was no pressure to just do trips straight off the bat because nobody was traveling. So it gave us enough time to go and put all our business structures in place.
Got it.
Go and travel ourselves, because we were lucky enough to get around a lot of that, in the sense of that Tanzania didn't close down. So that's why we focused on Tanzania and East Africa so heavily during this time, to make sure that country, the safari experience in that country, is going to be 150% correct when the world opens up and I'm ready to take people.
Are most destinations for you open now?
Mostly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually not that difficult. I think most of Africa, I think, is open. I think it's only China that's not planning to open.
Right.
And I'm not doing anything there. So
right.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much ready, 100% to go. Yeah.
So someone hires you. Talk a little bit about what happens. So they hire you, and you, let's say, pick a destination. We'll talk about that. Take me from the time they get on that plane in New York.
Sure.
Until they go home.
Okay, so at the moment,
just general.
So you'd fly sort of via Amsterdam to get into. Okay, we'll take Tanzania.
Okay.
And we'll take the Serengeti as your safari experience.
Got it.
So you'll fly via Amsterdam. You'll land at Kilimanjaro International Airport, which is just outside the city of Arusha. You do then have the option of a quick 10-15 minute flight into Arusha, the city itself, which is like in the mountains. Because it's got such quick access to the Serengeti. It's right in northern Tanzania, right on the tip. And getting there, then I would meet you at your lodging, because you'd normally comes in the evening by about 8 or 9 o'clock. So then you're quite tired, so we don't leave immediately for the Serengeti. We normally do like a 2-night stay, do some cultural stuff around Arusha, like the Maasai market where they sell authentic sort of Maasai blankets, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So you get to learn the lay of the land, also just take a breather after the travel, and then we go into the bush. So then I'll join you on a small Cessna aeroplane,
which
takes you into the Serengeti.
Okay.
And once you land there, your on-the-ground guide who knows the area, and he's from the lodge, will pick us up and we'll drive to the lodge, which you then welcome by the staff. And then your game drives work morning and evening. So game drive being when you're on the safari vehicle looking for the big game. It can take the whole day if that's what you choose, but it's normally 3-4 hours in the morning of drive, come back for a good lunch, and then go back out in the afternoon.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So the idea is you're going to drive through the Serengeti.
Yes.
With them.
Yes.
And the idea is to is it like, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but is it like are you just hoping to see certain animals? Do they kind of know where to take you? Is there a pathway? Is there a process?
Yeah, so there's a road network that will be out there. It's all dirt ground roads.
Right.
But you'll go to certain areas to see certain things because that's where those animals are found. So for example, the eastern plains of the Serengeti is very cheetah driven. So because it's so open, it's more suited to their environment. Where the northern plains meet the Mara River, there's a lot more rocky outcrops. So you've got a higher likelihood of seeing leopard in that area because they use that cover to hunt.
Okay.
So it's all area based, and then you drive around and look for these animals, and the guides talk via radio. So they're always in communication. So one guy will say, okay, I'm going to drive south to this point, you're going to go east to that point, and we'll communicate within that area.
Okay.
So if I find the lions in the east, I let my fellow guide know in the south, okay, I've got a pride of 10 lions. You can come and take a look.
So, okay, so you help me set the stage here. So I'm in this vehicle with you and our guide, right?
Yes.
And I'm guessing it's a Jeep?
It's a Toyota Land Cruiser normally.
Land Cruiser. Yeah. Good vehicles.
Very good vehicle.
Yeah, good vehicle. They're what the Jeeps wish they could be. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah.
I get a lot of hate mail for that.
I like Jeep.
Yeah, Jeep's okay.
I like Jeep.
Yeah. So you set out on this path. Let's say you run across a den of lions.
Yeah.
So you're on the road. It goes into the plains.
Yes.
And the lions are just moseying around.
They move freely. I mean, they're not stuck to the road network.
Well, of course. But I'm just saying, it sounds to anyone who's never done it,
yes,
me included, it sounds freaking dangerous, man.
Yeah, and it's not, because those animals grow up from the minute they open their eyes. And this is the best way to explain to somebody, is that when mom is moving me around as a cub, okay, so the lioness is moving her cubs around, immediately they get used to the sound of the vehicles. They don't see that as a threat, because if the female doesn't feel threatened by the vehicle, or the male doesn't feel threatened by the vehicle, immediately that sort of learnt behavior is passed down. And you do see it. Sometimes you go to pretty wild places like southern Tanzania, where there are very wild lions that don't see people, that don't know vehicles. So that's a little different. However, you're not in danger per se, because you're on a big metallic thing that's making a lot of noise. It's very smelly with the diesel fumes. So a lot of the time, no. I mean, 99.9% is 100% safe.
Okay. Are there cages on this vehicle?
No. It's open air. It's open air.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's a
These
good
are
one.
lions we're talking about now.
It's so hard to explain that you're not in danger until you've really done that. It's a lot of people. I mean, I've been asked plenty of times, am I in danger? And the best way to say it is, you're in Africa, you are around lions, but all the precautions are taken to not make it dangerous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, how close will a lion come to a vehicle like that? Out of curiosity,
well, depending on where you are, sort of, if you out sort of midday and you find lions and they're out in the sun because there's not much cover there in the grassland, they'll actually come and lie in the shade of the vehicle. I have had them go underneath the vehicles. I've had a cheetah jump onto a vehicle. Lions don't generally jump on vehicles. I mean, that's not the best situation. But a cheetah, that's a lightweight, not such an aggressive animal. I've had them climb on the safari vehicle in the middle of the Serengeti to use as a vantage point to look for prey, because it's so flat.
Okay.
So those things do happen, So in other words, they get right close to you. You don't have to go and do experiences where it's caged animals and you want to get close to them. You don't have to do that. You can do that in the wild, which I find so incredible.
It's amazing. The lion will come right up to the vehicle.
Right up to the vehicle.
And lay in the shade.
Yes. It's pretty amazing. And I'm not saying that doesn't always happen, but there is the likelihood of them getting that close, yes.
And they don't get aggressive. They don't. That's amazing.
It's all to do with also how people behave. You know, if you're going to act like a buffoon on a vehicle and jump up and down, all that's going to happen is you're going to frighten that animal. But if you sit there and you're respectful in that situation, that's what I always tell people: have respect for the wildlife, and it will respect you back. And that's how those experiences grow, and you get those really intimate experiences with these wild big cats.
Right. And the cheetah jumped up on the actual vehicle itself.
On the back of the vehicle, yes. And it's pretty incredible.
And they're not an aggressive animal. Like there's no fear of them. That's amazing.
No, I mean, like, that's obviously amazing. It's a big cat, so it needs to be respected. But if that happens, I mean,
if it's breathing on my shoulder, I'm going to respect it.
And I've seen them get that close. Like, I've seen it with my own eyes, them getting that close to where they're like smelling people on a vehicle, then they just jump off and carry on moving. You're not a food source to them. They eat gazelle. They don't eat people. So it's
that's
more of an inquisitive thing.
That's good to clarify.
Yeah, it's more of an inquisitive kind of thing from cheetah's standpoint, where lions, I think, are such big, lazy animals in general. They're just looking for the nice shady spot to sort of kick back and relax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so are there any animals that you would not want to get that close with out there?
Yes.
On the cats? On the cats?
On the cats, not really, no. Not in that situation.
Like tigers?
I'm not too sure. I meant to have been to India a couple times, but due to the pandemic and the situation with COVID in India, we've pulled away from that.
For now, hopefully. Just
for now. Just till this whole thing starts to settle a bit. Then I'm definitely going to go look for wild tiger. I don't know how close those guys get. I hear it's as close as safari in Africa. So it's going to be a good learning curve for me as well, which I'm looking forward to, yeah.
Are they a little more aggressive by nature, those animals, as far as you know?
I actually can't answer that. I don't know. I don't know in the wild. I think they are more solitary. So tigers won't form a pride like lions. But you might find a couple together. For instance, if a mother has subadult cubs, well, not subadult cubs, cubs, and she'll actually keep them close and feed them to a certain point. So you find that with leopard as well. Leopards are known for being solitary animals, but yet if a mother's looking after her young, she will feed them up until over a year old.
Wow.
Until she really has to wean them off and it's now time to get kicked out of the nest.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can see how the public would view that as kind of frightening, because we're made to believe from the movies and entertainment and television and books and things that, they're aggressive animals
that are going to rip you out of a safari vehicle and drag you across the plains, and that's really not how it goes. It's all just Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, and I think that what also doesn't help is the proliferation of YouTube and these TikTok videos, and you see like safari gone wrong, and there's like you always see the worst case scenario. You
never see the good stuff. People love bad media. It gets likes, it gets follows, it gets that kind of stuff. It's always the craziest situation where something goes wrong that catches the most traction.
Right.
And that's the unfortunate side of this, is that I think it doesn't educate people correctly on the industry, because, as you said, it's safari gone wrong, 3 people hurt by elephant. Okay, but what took place for that to happen?
Exactly right.
Yeah. So
busting the joint up over there, buddy.
I know, right?
That's all right. I'll get it for you.
There you go. I got it.
You got it?
Is that good?
As long as it's shining on you.
Yeah,
good.
There you go.
All right, good deal.
Sorry about that one.
No, it's all right. I'm still trying to figure out all these lights myself. It's like insane. So, when you say go to the lodge, these are companies that run safaris on the Serengeti, right?
Yes. So
how many of them are you familiar with?
There's a couple. I've really chosen really high-end stuff.
Right.
We want the quality over quantity for our business.
Okay, so talk about the differentiation between like a poorly run.
So it'll just be your living situation. So obviously you might be in a really small tent with just a single bed, and then a shared kind of bathroom situation, which I don't think anybody really likes. I don't.
Okay.
Where you get the 5-star experience. So, for instance, there's a 4 seasons in the Serengeti.
Yeah.
So you can go that way.
That's what I'm talking about.
You can go that way, where you can eat from a menu from across the world, that kind of experience. Or mine is the top-notch safari experience with great accommodation. It gets quite pricey, but it's not a 4 seasons hotel. It's a safari lodge. It's intimate. There might only be...
Which sounds cooler anyway.
Yeah, it's very cool, because you're also further out away. So you definitely get
But you're not living in a tent, right?
No, you're living in a pretty... So some of them are permanent tents, but it's got a wooden floor. It's just a canvas cover. But it's got a double bed, hot water, flushing toilets. It's got everything you need.
Okay.
And that's what I like. That's the best way to do it.
Okay, so you're saying like going the ultra high end with the Four Seasons, and that basically that's got to be a strange collision of worlds there, right?
Very. like how does this? Like imagine driving past and then you're on the way to go look at a lion sighting, and you just see Four Seasons, Serengeti, and you're like, what? Like, yeah,
that's kind of insane.
I know. The first time I actually just saw that by chance once, and I was like, a Four Seasons out here? Like,
Are there other chains that have done that too, like down there? I would think there would have to be.
I think there is.
Like Hilton and Hyatt and those.
They sort of. I think they're around. Yeah, there's a Hyatt in Zanzibar. I've actually stayed there, but Zanzibar is more sort of that's that island off of Tanzania.
Right.
That's more of like a tropical kind of paradise vibey. It's not safaris.
Damn, dude, you're busting the joint up.
I don't know why. I don't know where it keeps going.
That's all right. That's probably, you know what? That might be me pulling the cord down there. Is that me? My feet?
I think you busting up your own joint.
Yeah, I think I busted a joint. Yeah. We got a lot of wires. I don't talk about the underneath of this table, but it's kind of ugly down there.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. It all kind of works in its own way, but a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. So like the Hyatts and so on. So it's this collision of worlds where it's a third world country that's got this super high end accommodation. And you've always just got to remember that where are you at? Tanzania and the Serengeti has been made so famous by TV that people want to go and have this top-notch experience, and you can't stick them in a little one-man tent in the middle of the bush.
Got it.
People expect a level of service. So it also provides a lot of jobs.
Sure.
Like it really, really does. Like
sure.
It provides so many jobs for the tourism industry and jobs. I mean, with COVID, I think it's really, really hurt.
Sure it has.
And I think that's unfortunate for a lot of people. It's put people in really bad situations, and a lot of people rely on tourism to make an income.
No doubt.
And with that shutting down and now reopening, it's reopened up that if you're not at a certain level, like a Four Seasons, if you're not giving that kind of service, people are just not going to go to you.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. It just, again, from an outsider looking in, it just sounds insane. It's just, you're in the middle of the desert, and there's a Four Seasons hotel there.
Yeah, just across that hill there's the Four Seasons. And then you have like the Great Migration of wildebeest like running past the Four Seasons. It's crazy.
No, that's insane. All right, so I go into safari. You take me to this lodge.
Yeah.
I meet you to the lodge. We go out in the morning for the first 3-hour trek.
Yep.
And you're guessing, your assumption is at that point we're looking at cats, right?
Well, cats, the gazelle, giraffe, elephant, just your normal African animals.
They all out there commingling with each other?
Yeah, there's no separate section. It's only us that live in separate towns, you know. They just sort of, they've got their territories, like certain lions, but elephants are not territorial with lions, so they might push lions off of an area if they feel uncomfortable with those lions in that area, but they'll just carry on moving through. You know, so it's all this big melting pot of animals and wildlife.
That's so cool.
And like then you take the birds and the smaller stuff into account that's also there, and it's just this amazing. There's always something to look at.
Yeah.
Whether you're looking at the unique sort of plants in that area, so trees, flowers, that kind of stuff, and then whilst you're looking for the big game, you're learning about your environment.
Absolutely.
Which I think is super cool about safari, is that you learn so much from that experience.
You talked about birds last time you were here. You said you have a father who was massively in he said it's a financial professional with a bird problem.
With a bird problem. Yeah. That's my dad. That's my dad.
But is bird watching separate from a safari, or is that
No, it's all sort of mixed in. You do get safaris that are purely bird specific because the world of birding is so big.
Really?
Oh man,
I
the opportunity to travel.
I did not know that.
To travel on birding trips is just like out of this. I think I'd say worldwide it's probably bigger than the standard safari industry.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, going down to like Ecuador to find a specific, I mean, there's way more bird species on planet Earth than there are mammal species.
Right.
So these guys, you get them that are really enthusiastic about it. They literally chase birds around the world. That's what they do.
I'm not laughing at it, but I am laughing because I don't understand it. But that's insane.
You get people that are so fanatical about birds that they literally travel the world just to find specific bird species.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's prevalent from people in the United States?
Yeah, that's big, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people. I've actually guided people in Big 5 game reserves that don't want to see a leopard. They actually want to go straight, and they just want to look for a brown-hooded kingfisher or a martial eagle or something like that. That's what they want to do. And then you get the guys that are the real twitchers about it, and those are the bird photographers.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I can kind of get that. I mean, like, I had the photography bent, so I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But why are the photographers out of their minds?
Because they're the ones that will... You're not just ticking it off. You now have to get a photograph of something that won't sit still.
So what you're saying is it isn't just good enough to have the experience. They have to have the experience, and they have to record the experience.
They have to record this experience. And
you're one of those guys.
Not too much with the birds. I like the big stuff. Yet. I'm actually finding I'm getting more into it because it's different. And you get such unique birds out there that live in these crazy environments, and you've got to go see that kind of stuff. So, for instance, I think on the last show we spoke about the shoebill stork.
Okay.
That are getting to like it's almost a 4.47 kind of bird.
Okay.
So it's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy how prehistoric it is and how they live. That I just had to go see this animal. It's so majestic. And they're just dying out because obviously the lack of conservation and knowledge in countries, that's always a big thing, is the education behind it. But yes, I'm finding more and more that I'm taking such a liking to finding the smaller things.
Got it.
Because seeing lion and leopard constantly, it never gets old for me.
I wouldn't think it would.
But in between, I'm paying more attention to my environment, and then with that comes a lot of the birding stuff, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because bird watching, I grew up with the concept of bird watching being something that the old fogies used to do. You know, that was what we were. I mean, but then again, I was living in the United States, where, but that's a whole different sport there.
It's a whole different game. It's something that I don't think I'm ready to take on yet. For like trip-wise, I mean, I can do it, but I need to still build so much knowledge in that part of my field.
Yeah.
I don't.
What would you say your specialty is? I mean, is your passion?
It's the photographic side.
Yeah.
And that would be for big game.
Okay.
Whether it be North American wildlife, South American, European, doesn't matter. If it can be photographed and I can tell the story behind it,
right?
That's what I like doing.
Yeah, and photographing birds just has to be insanely difficult.
It is. It's crazy. And the equipment that goes with that. I mean, you're not playing with small photographic lenses.
Yeah, that's those lenses. You were saying your main lens was a 70 to 200.
I got a 200 to 600 as well.
Okay. I was thinking as I re-listened to our prior show, I'm thinking to myself, he's got to have something a little more reach in there.
Yeah, there's that. So, like, I'm just waiting desperately for a 400 prime at the moment.
Good luck with that.
I'm a ways away.
Lug that around, buddy.
Yeah. So those. I mean, that's amazing.
2.8.
2.8, 100% through and through.
400, 2.8. Yeah.
Fixed, obviously, at 400. It just gives you such better quality in low light and so on. But that with a converter on
How
it.
How much of your photography is done in low light? Do you do a lot of dusk photography?
Not a lot, actually. But now I found out in Jackson Hole, for instance, with winter pulling in, it can be 1 o'clock in the afternoon and it's going dark.
Right.
So then it does become difficult. But then I always try and just revert to video, to show people a short clip or something like that on social media, because in lower light that video is going to look a lot better than trying to give them a portrait of an animal.
Oh, interesting. So you're saying the video process resolves more light issues than still photography does.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you're doing it in an era right now where I would think from a technical standpoint, sensor, at least in regards to my knowledge, the sensors for still photography now are so incredible compared to even where they were 15 years ago.
Oh, no, it's insane. But it's also willing what you can pay. So what can I afford to travel with? So
got it.
If you've got money is not an object and you're going to go do this full out, I mean, then you're going to go for the top of the line gear.
Sure.
And that obviously makes a big difference.
But there's a weight issue there too, right? In what you do.
Not really, not anymore with the Sony gear. I find it's light enough. With their technology being mirrorless and so on, and them really leading the field.
Yeah.
I just find it's
I got a
it's amazing.
7C. I just purchased the
Okay.
A7C.
That's a good little
Yeah, full frame. It's my first mirrorless, and it's my believe it or not. It's
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's my first full frame sensor. Right?
Okay.
I shot Nikon many years prior and never took the leap to full frame.
Yeah.
Because I
You're gonna
need the
love
extra. I need the extra leap. I shot a lot of youth sports.
Yeah.
So I needed that length and that
that
crop sensor. It made sense.
No, for sure.
But having the color saturation and the ISO levels are just ridiculous now.
Out of this
I can
world.
shoot in the dark almost.
Yeah, you can, just depending on how stable that camera and lens is. I mean, you can shoot in the dark. It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be the sharpest image, but it's possible.
And my last camera before this
Yeah.
was to show you how the gap in my purchases was a D300 that I bought in 08, which at that time blew the D2 that I had away.
Like completely.
So, but the leap to this A7C, from the D300 is 13 years.
That's
and
massive.
That's a big leap in sensor technology.
That is huge.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're going to see the results for yourself on that. You can take both those cameras, put them next to each other, shoot the same thing, and look at the image quality. It's just going to be completely different.
Yeah, it's been. So I'm wrapping my head around that now, and so it was a big move for me to go from Nikon to Sony, but I'm pretty happy, and I did it because I was using Sony products in here. I got very comfortable with their with editing their video, and I like their level of saturation on their sensors. It was a natural decision to move to try their still cameras, and as soon as I got this, and I ended up getting like a 16 to 35 wide angle
think so,
to shoot properties with.
Yeah.
Man, I was just sold. But my point being that it's lighter now.
Yes.
I think that the lens quality continues to improve. I mean, they say you can't improve on glass. Good glass was always good glass. Yeah, but the technology, you're doing more with less now.
For sure.
It's the weight issue for me.
Exactly. It's the way to still give that reach and the quality within an image and not lose that quality from the glass. So like for instance, my 200-600, I lose quality there because that glass and that lens zooming in and out loses the f-stop.
Correct.
So in low light, I'm shooting at like 5.6 to 6.3.
Yeah, is it a 0.56 lens or a 0.4?
I think it's a 0.56.
Okay.
It's 5.6 to 6.3.
Got it.
That's it. So in that light, you're needing a 2.8.
No doubt.
Yeah, so that's
or at least 4.
Or at least f4. I mean, I used to shoot on a fixed 300 f4 Canon.
That's a good lens.
Yeah, it was great. It was one of the first ones. It was quite old school.
Yeah.
But
slow autofocus.
Jeez, if any. But it worked, and it gave me such a good backing. And then I changed to the 70-200 and the Sony initially.
Yeah.
And then figured that obviously I needed a bit more reach, and then went for the 200-600 because it does give me that variety in focal length, especially in places like the Serengeti where the light can be quite harsh.
No doubt.
Then your f-stop there is not too bad. It's a bit frustrating in the morning if something's a bit far away and it's a little bit dark.
Exactly right. And you lose a little bit of the beauty of that bokeh, the beauty of the shallowed up the field.
Yeah.
But if you're shooting in the middle of the desert in the middle of the day, it's not an issue.
No,
I mean,
it
doesn't, quite frankly, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
How fast the lens is.
Exactly.
There's so much light.
Yeah, so I think it's all down to what you're going to be doing. And if you're looking at bird photography, that's why these guys are shooting on 600 f4s, because you're in a dark forest in Ecuador. You're looking for something that's small, far away, and in low light. It makes that game really difficult. So these guys that are taking great bird photographs deserve a lot of respect in our industry because it is so difficult. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, because first off, you need an amazing reach. You need higher end lenses, no doubt.
Yeah.
You need to be able to make those lenses stable. You really need to. And again, I don't want to turn this into a nerdy photography podcast, but my point is, it's amazing how technology has brought so many people into photography, which I think is beautiful. And the cameras in the cell phones have helped proliferate photography. Sure. But there's still elements of photography that require photographers. And no matter how much technology, if you don't know how to craft the photograph, the composition, if you don't know that triad of ISO and shutter speed and aperture and how they all work together, you can't teach somebody overnight. They've got to get out and experience
exactly, and that's what I do. That's what I do on the photographic side with my clients, my guests, essentially.
Oh, very cool.
It's I teach you how to use your equipment in that environment to get the best shot.
Oh, that's a whole nother benefit.
Yeah. So that's what I really love doing, because I'm teaching you about that environment and the culture, like we've discussed that whole side of it. But at the end of the day, what's really cool is being able to see how happy people are when they get to record that memory, take it home, and show their loved ones. Mm-hmm. So it changes the game completely for me. It's about getting that person to capture a moment that might be the last time they see a lion ever, that lifetime trip, and you get to take it home, and it's a quality image that you can print and put on your wall. So that's where my teaching side on the photographics comes in.
No, that makes all the sense in the world, and that ties some things together for me too. Yeah. And we are in a world today where capturing moments, that's just what we do now.
It is,
which is amazing. Like
iPhones.
Yeah,
people are doing this all the time.
Changed everything. The iPhone changed
completely
photography.
Yeah, it did. I mean, if you look at what these guys can create just on an iPhone now, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, there's a challenge right now that someone's thinking on this new iPhone 13 they're going to be able to record the first actual movie. The entire movie on an i13 Pro Max or whatever. The entire movie is going to be recorded on iPhones.
You know what? That makes me want to geek out so hard about this song. I just find it so insane. Like, this thing in my pocket has the capability of shooting a Hollywood level movie. It's insane.
But you know what's amazing about that too? I'll go down this rabbit hole. I still tell you though, I'm still not impressed with the still photography. I'm impressed that they can do that in a camera, but when you start pixel peeping and you go 1:1 and you start doing the things that photographers do, the traditional SLR photographers do, there's just still no comparison. The sensor, when you see all the artifacts, you see all the compression, just again, when you crunch that down, it doesn't, you're holding on your phone.
Exactly. But that's essentially, I think, what it was designed to do, was to be in your face.
Yeah.
It's not designed to be taking something across a room even, unless you're trying to capture that whole scene.
Right.
Because it's more on the wide angle basis that they've got it right. I think if you look at that,
the telephoto is garbage.
Yeah, except that new Samsung that came out, the S21 Ultra, I think it is. I'm not
they
such
improved
a
on the telephoto.
It is actually outrageous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it completely outplays the iPhone at the moment.
Wow.
Like, completely.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's
I wouldn't
pretty
have
cool.
thought of that.
Like, just the camera quality. I mean, I'm not an Android kind of guy because I run everything off of Apple because it's more creative for me.
Yeah.
And sort of fits my needs better. But what a cool thing that they're getting that right, because it means that Apple should not be that far behind.
Got it. Now, this is, again, a little geeky, but I'm always suspect in regards to zooms, because there's that handoff where it's an optical zoom to a certain point, and then there's a digital zoom. And digital zoom, to me, it's a 20-year-old thing now, but it just seems it's always just so crappy and so compressed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people always look at trips, especially if we now go take this back to the safari industry and what they want to bring with them, and they look at what we call bridge cameras.
Okay, so give me an example. What's a bridge camera?
So a bridge camera is a fixed lens zoom. That, the camera with this in and out.
I know. So all the major manufacturers make them. I've actually owned a few.
Yeah. So, like, for instance, for somebody that's not doing this professionally, yes, that works pretty well. Especially out there, because it gives you lots of variation, but you're never going to have a super high quality image.
No.
Like if you're using a proper DSLR or mirrorless, the good glass again.
Yeah.
Good glass is not just good glass anymore in this game. It really counts for so much.
And that's something that just the average consumer who has really no interest in photography, and God love them, but they'll never get that.
No, you don't. And also, they look at me, for example. Let's take myself, for example, in that situation. Why do you have such expensive equipment? Well, okay, yes, it's my job, but it's the quality that gives me. And then they will say, yes, but I'm taking a photograph of the same lion. What your photograph is versus what my photograph is very different.
I always say this too, like the perfect example, and I've never heard this done, but you take a person who is a consumer who doesn't understand the difference in pricing and equipment. All you have to really do is take the files in Lightroom and just blow them up next to each other. As soon as you go 1:1,
for sure,
it's game over.
Yeah, it's just that comparison, and it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, quality in, quality out.
Yeah, for sure. And it's again like, what are you? But see, that's where I sort of come in again, because somebody might not be able to afford the professional equipment.
Of course.
So I need to teach you how to use your equipment to the best of your ability
100%.
and push that equipment as far as possible.
100%.
And that's what I love doing.
So you're saying that you're basically a consumer long zoom camera, a point and shoot with the big zoom on it, like sometimes they go up to 500, 600, 700 millimeters. In theory, but it's very grainy on the long end there.
So not with, that's where your f-stop and your prime lenses come in. It's giving you that up close image without losing the quality.
No, I'm saying before the consumer.
But
the point and shoots, they talk about having a 600 millimeter.
Oh, it's
long
not
end.
a 600 at all.
And, well, that's what I'm saying. So somewhere in that range from 70 to 600, that thing zooms, and it's somewhere the optical portion hands off to the digital portion.
Well, I suppose it would be the same as zooming in too far on your iPhone. When you're trying to take an image, you lose that image quality because it's just all digital.
Yeah, so when I say it's like we have a zoom from 7 to 600 on this point and shoot, and I'm like, yeah, well, probably the last 200 millimeters of that zoom range are all digital.
Yeah, for sure. It's all just zooming in on a cropped image, essentially. It's cropping in live.
So what value is really there? I mean, less cropping after and post, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
But it's all garbage. So.
Literally, you're gonna think you got this amazing photograph on a small screen, and then it's just completely.
It's
trash.
A little disingenuous from the manufacturers. I think
It is. But again, it provides somebody with an opportunity to take a photograph and make a memory.
100%.
Yeah.
And everybody is going to look at their experience differently too, and that's something probably you have to take into account when you
100%
take a client. When you take on a client, do you have like an interview process where you get to know each other?
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. It's actually something, let's say somebody inquires with me, the initial contact will either be on Instagram or via email. And if you take it from that step, then I always try and have a video call with the ability to talk face to face from anywhere in the world is such a tool.
It's a tool.
Because you're essentially meeting that person in person. It's just through a screen. It's
and
not
the
via
pandemic
text.
gave us that in a big way.
Thank you, Zoom. Zoom calls are
Zoom.
fantastic. But even if you just look at like WhatsApp and that kind of video call, it's so available.
Oh yeah.
So then I make
For sure.
that contact with that person, and it might be 2 or 3 times that I call you to really get a whole picture on what we need to plan for you and what specifically you want to do and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has to be a huge advantage. I mean, it's first off, this is an investment in an experience, number one, and number two, you want to make sure. I would imagine you don't want to leave any stone uncovered. You want to really. Of course. What do you look for in terms of when you're interviewing when you're being interviewed or you're interviewing a client that wants to set out on a journey? Are you? I mean, I'd imagine you'd want to understand their expectations because there might be some things you can't provide, right? I mean, how's that process work?
Well, it's always, I think it's just starting off with being honest and telling them that a lot of people watch what I do before. So I'll see somebody who is watching on social media and I can see they're starting to take more and more interest in what I'm posting wildlife-wise. And then normally there's a message that comes through. People are nervous about making contact with other people. It's just something.
Really?
Yeah, I find like a lot of people sometimes are a bit like not straightforward enough in a sense. I think people in general are just say how you feel.
Okay.
Just be honest.
Okay.
It's just that. But in any case, so
do you think that's specific to America you find, or is it worldwide?
No, it's sort of worldwide.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
That's something I've found across the board.
Okay.
I think just if everybody just obviously spoke their mind in the correct way, we would have a lot less tension because nobody's left guessing.
Got it.
Why is that person upset with me?
Well, what about pure unvarnished honesty? That's a whole nother discussion.
For sure. But yeah, so you make the contact and then you chat and you leave no stone unturned. So where have you traveled? Where have you been? What are your interests? Are you a birder? Are you into the mammals? Do you how far does that client want to take this experience?
Okay.
And that will immediately, so if let's say there's a family of 4 doing a standard safari, the kids are sort of in their teens, they're not going to want to sit there on a safari vehicle in the heat all day. you know,
Right.
or younger kids.
Right.
Versus a guy that, for instance, the guy I'm going with to Botswana in February, he's a hardcore photographer. That guy is going to want to be out there 13 hours a day in the bush waiting for a certain thing to happen. So it's all coming down to what does that client need, and that's where you make that contact. Then you give the proposal on the trip. Does this suit your needs? So I've got this, this, and this. These are your options from me. Does this suit you? And if it doesn't, how can we change it to suit you?
Got it.
And then obviously you grow it from there.
Okay. The realm of what you're doing, is it, will you take someone out on a bird trip if they want to go?
Oh, 100%.
And obviously big game.
Yeah.
Which big game encompasses, give me the animals that are technically
So
in big
yeah,
game.
so big game, so lion, leopard, elephant, buffalo, rhino, that kind of stuff. So the traditional African hippo. Yeah, hippos.
Hippos, man. They
I think I'm
freak
going to
me out.
get you a little hippo
I
statue.
know, you might have to.
I'm going to
man.
bring one back.
I want I want some from South Africa. I want one.
sure,
All right,
I'll-
that's the challenge.
yeah.
I'll put it in here for sure.
No,
There's my
definitely.
elephant over there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So birds, big
Mm-hmm.
game. What else?
It's really a landscape. You know, a lot of this. I mean,
Okay.
how often do we see a beautiful landscape?
Well, you just came from a place that has some of the most beautiful,
The Grand Tetons. I mean,
unbelievable.
mind-blowing place. It's just and it doesn't even have to be a completely clear day. You know, we had
Right.
one day in specific that was quite rainy, in between the snow, bit of rain, and the mountain was just opening up, just the top peak, and then at the bottom it was just cloud in between, and it's just insane. What a beautiful place. So landscapes are also right in there.
Right on.
Yeah, so Namibia, for instance, is the land of landscape photography,
Okay.
because it's so vast, and
Yeah.
you know, it's got such varying climate.
Have you ever gone out just for that reason? Like, has the client ever said, "Hey, I'm a landscape photographer. Can you take me out for that reason?"
Yeah, I have actually. I've gone and set up for sunrises, sunsets, that kind of stuff over specific maybe mountains like the
Yeah.
Grand Tetons,
That's a
for example.
thing.
It's a big thing.
That's a thing.
It's a thing. Yeah. So yes, that does happen. And then you've got the astrophotography side of it, which is pretty much landscape and capturing the stars.
Talk about that.
Yeah, that's something that takes a while to learn. At least for me, I really see some guys are phenomenal at it, and they get so creative. But it's essentially slow shutter speeds, going out to not have other light interfering in that photograph.
Which,
So-
to my understanding, is why the area of the equator is so. I'm told that it's so desirable because there's so less light pollution there.
Yeah,
Is
well,
that
you're not
right?
going to sit in Pittsburgh and photograph Orion in the center of downtown. You know what I
Right.
mean? There's too much light pollution. So you need to be out in these wild places, have a good tripod set up, and then have essentially no movement on that camera because it'll just distort the image. And then that's what we do as well. But that's also encapsulating sort of
That's
the
a whole-
landscape side of it, and that's a whole different game.
Oh yeah, just to make that camera, to do this long shutter.
Oh, yeah.
Shutter. Yeah. I said, so when you say long shutter, are we talking a minute, 2, 3?
I think it just depends on how much quality and what you're looking for in the image. You know,
Okay.
if I'm going to capture the Milky Way, I'm going to have that on for a long time so that camera is gathering all that light in, so to show off that picture.
It's amazing to me that to think that a camera can be mounted in a way in the desert that when you activate that shutter and open it, that nothing around that camera will remotely move it. It sounds almost impossible.
Almost impossible, yeah. Like I just got a new tripod for the fact of being out in sort of Jackson Hole, because you're trekking quite far away from the vehicle. You know, for mooses in the middle of a meadow somewhere, you got to go and get closer. And to carry and so on, but the stability in these new tripods
Right.
is out of this world. They're not flimsy anymore, but they're also not so heavy to be solid. Like it's
And
lightweight
you have
carbon
aluminum.
fiber.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like carbon fiber, I think, with aluminum on pieces.
Okay.
And it's very, like, I can take it in my backpack. You know, it's probably about that big.
Right.
But it stands probably about this tall if I needed to, which is pretty incredible.
Right,
And
right,
it's
right.
super stable. Where the old stuff was so heavy, oh my goodness. And now you got to, like, walk with that. It just didn't make it practical.
But there's other elements. There's the wind. There's just
Yeah,
other
for sure.
elements that can mess up the
Exactly.
photograph.
And then, yeah, so you're also picking nights to do astro kind of photography when it's super clear, there's not much wind, because you don't need that movement and so on. But yeah, a whole different game. But an amazing thing and very interesting.
Oh, it's fascinating, especially when you get a great shot that shows like a shooting star. It blended. It's just it's amazing.
I find it incredible. These guys are so good at it. I always just find just stick true to the photograph and it'll work for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't understand what a real sky looks like in Pittsburgh. Like it's always gray here. It is one thing about Pittsburgh. It's gray skies all the time. This is what we deal with. I think there's a depression element of living here that hurts a certain portion of our population. I think that's just something unique, which is not unique to Pittsburgh. I'm sure there's other areas that have the same problem.
For sure.
But the concept of what you see sometimes, like what they have in Arizona on a completely clear night,
insane.
The sky is loaded with stars.
Even like Utah.
Yeah, we don't have that.
I see a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, very different environment again. If you're looking at the forests here and so on, like I love driving around Sewickley Heights area because of the deer, the turkeys, that kind of stuff. For me, just to see it is very cool. However, like if you take a look at like Utah, Arizona, and you get those crisp, clear nights, for astro and landscape, it's absolutely incredible. I've actually is a friend that I'm going to go visit, that I've guided them in South Africa before when I was working at the lodge, and they've just moved out to Arizona. So when I come back, I'm actually going to head into the desert to go photograph stars and that kind of stuff, because it's such a unique opportunity for me as a photographer.
Yeah. And obviously there's no pollution, or very, very, very minuscule pollution in the air in the desert.
Yeah, because there's not all of us around, so it does work out nicely.
Yeah, it isn't just noise pollution, it's atmospheric pollution.
Yeah, true, yeah. No, for sure. That's what I'm saying, is like you struggle around a city because there's so many motor vehicles, there's buses, there's planes coming in, that it just does pollute the air, especially with you guys in the winter and cold. You can see that pollution. You know, it does make it that extra tinge of grey out there where they don't have that.
It's always grey, man.
Hey, listen, I love Pittsburgh.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I know you do.
It is something that...
Why do you love Pittsburgh so much?
I think it was really my first experience. Obviously, when I came for the first time, I came here.
How long ago was that?
It's nearly 2 years ago.
Okay.
And
it's the first place in the States?
Was coming just across the river to Sewickley.
Wow.
Crazy.
Well, Sewickley and Sewickley Heights would not be prototypical of the rest of America.
No, it's not. It definitely isn't.
Just making sure you're aware of that.
No, 100%. Yes. And I think just driving here and then having the rivers, and then it is a very picturesque city when you're driving like downtown. Like, I forget the name of the tunnel that you come out from.
Fort Pitt Tunnel.
I think so. And you come out and the city just opens up in front of you. It's pretty insane. It's beautiful. It's incredible.
Pittsburgh, man.
Oh yeah.
Well, coming through the Fort Pitt tunnels has been filmed by a lot of people. That was something you could do when you drive through next time. Film that.
You know, I don't often get the chance to get down there, but I've been through once or twice, and it's just like it can be the greyest day in Pittsburgh. You come out of that tunnel, and you're like, wow. What is this? This is insane.
So you went to a Steeler game, right?
I did, and what an experience it was. And I mean,
were you familiar with American football before you got here?
Yeah, I'm a big sport fanatic.
Okay.
I'm crazy about contact sports. I played a lot of rugby growing up, so naturally American football sort of takes my interest because it's the.
Is it popular overseas?
I think it's growing because American culture is growing elsewhere in the world. So like pop culture.
God help the world.
We'll see. We'll see how this one's going to play.
You can have the Kardashians if you want them. We'll give them to you.
No, that's why we leave them here.
Yeah, we'll give them to you. You want to take them all? Just take them.
Yeah, you can just ship them off somewhere. But yeah, so Pittsburgh football. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, last year for 2019, it was rated the best place in America to watch football. I think I'd check the fact on that one, but as far as I've read, that was in 2019 in the season, it was the best place in America to watch football from a fan standpoint. It was cold. We played the Lions, Detroit. We tied to...
it's a very rare occurrence in football.
Come on, guys.
It's a very rare... Wait, so is there any ties in rugby?
Yeah, you do tie, but it's more of the fact of who they tied to.
I know. Oh, see, he knows. So you got a working knowledge of the NFL.
I've got a good idea of how the whole game works in the NFL. I watch the NFL draft every year.
Oh, so you're an NFL fan?
Like, I'm a fan. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Oh, so were you a Pittsburgh Steelers fan before you ever came here?
I was. And the funniest
What's
thing
the
is,
odds of that?
well, I really like Snoop Dogg. I think he's such a cool guy, and he supported the Steelers, and I was like,
oh my god,
well, that's clearly a team I need to watch. And
got it.
Yeah, and I mean,
old gin and juice himself.
He is.
I actually bought that CD in 93 or something.
Yeah, I think it was 93, 94
on a challenge, and not my type of music, but I bought it and I ended up playing that, and I had that and Dr. Dre The Chronic. I got both of those two almost simultaneously, and I'm like, wow, I don't really understand it, but it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, and I've always just enjoyed his music, and you know, he's very much a pro love guy. Yeah. And he's very pro spreading love around the world and bringing cultures together.
Right.
So yeah, that's how it started, and then it sort of just developed from there with Jen, my business partner again.
Right.
They've had Steelers season tickets since 1971.
It's amazing.
Like, they are season ticket holders from 71.
Wow.
The same 3 seats, obviously. Then the stadium's changed and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they've got their seats.
What was your impression of the game?
I loved it. It's very different in person to what you see on television.
In what way?
So in television, like the explaining and the way they break down the plays, obviously that's how I learned watching it. But watching, it's weird sitting there and then they have a TV commercial like timeout.
They're just standing around.
Yeah, they're standing around like talking to each other.
It's the weirdest thing.
So strange. And then people are so passionate about the sport here. You know, we're passionate about rugby, and being a South African, it's something you grow up with, and we're an extremely proud nation behind our rugby team.
Okay. So are you in? Make sure I won't forget. So your rugby.
Yes.
Are you in direct competition with the All Blacks?
We are currently the world number 1, and they are number 2.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I got some New Zealand friends of mine from the guitar years who are just All Blacks fanatics. That's why it's on my radar.
It's the biggest clash in world rugby, and always will be. It's the one when South African South African Springboks against the New Zealand All Blacks. It's a clash of the Titans. It always has. It's a war. They literally break each other on the field, and you know, it's something that you grow up and you play. It's like playing high school football, and you know, you understand the game, but then you get to see friends of yours or acquaintances from high school that I played against. They're now playing for the country, and you get to watch them. So you get so invested in that.
It's a great thing, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
I always thought, like, wow, I wonder if I'll know anybody playing for the Springboks. There's a couple guys.
What's the name of the nickname?
The Springboks. Springbok, B-O-K-S.
Okay, and what is that?
It's actually a type of antelope.
Okay.
Yeah.
I learned something today.
Yeah, actually, I've got a jersey at the house. I should have, so I can show you the logo. It's quite cool.
Right on.
And then, you've got, so we just actually lost to England, unfortunately, by 1 point.
How's that possible? He won't talk
do we need to talk about coaching? And I mean, we're in Pittsburgh, we know how this goes.
Well, we know how it goes in this town. As you noticed about Steelers fans, if you pay attention, you'll know that nothing is ever good enough. Like, we are the most spoiled football fans in the world. We demand, not always justifiably, we demand excellence all the time.
For sure, and I think it's so good for, it keeps you at a certain level, but if you look at that level, you guys haven't won a Super Bowl since 2008.
Yes.
So it's ticking away, and that accountability, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole with the sport, but the accountability you can't keep blaming your players. You have world-class athletes on that team. It's very evident. I think there need to be changes from the outside. I mean, I haven't lived here my whole life, and I haven't watched the structure.
Even our fans from other countries, other continents, know what needs to be done.
And it needs to happen. It needs to happen. And just watching it, you know, like but the whole experience, I mean, to whoever hears this, thank you for whoever was there and the great experience in that stadium. It is something so unique and special, and I will be back.
The NFL is something, huh?
It is, man.
Wow, are you familiar with American baseball?
I am. To me, I don't.
Boring, huh?
Yeah, I don't find it super exciting.
I think it has to do with the age. Now is American baseball in any form played, or are you down
Our
your
sort
way?
of equivalent to that would be cricket.
Yeah, I've watched a cricket match. I could not understand what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what goes on in baseball, and I've tried. I've really tried. The next thing I really enjoy is the ice hockey, but it's physical and it's fast. So, but baseball, I think there's a lot more that goes on in baseball that
Certainly.
you actually, if you don't understand the game, you won't see that.
So baseball's a funny game because not just that's my favorite game.
Okay.
But I think it's because I was raised with it, and I think if you play it as a child or you're really connected to it when you're younger and you grow up with it,
Yeah.
it becomes almost institutional, and it's so complex. Whereas football is a different animal completely, and I think
For
that
sure.
people jump into football and understand it and get enthused with it without ever really having to play it. It's a different experience.
Yeah,
You
I think
know?
it's similar. Like you can learn rugby, but you don't have to play it to learn it. Where cricket, we grew up playing cricket, so you understand it immediately. But from an outside view, it'd be the same as baseball. It's really difficult to understand because there's so much going on there. Yeah, sport's a crazy thing. It's
Yeah, but it's such a unifier, right? Here we are,
It is
different
such a
continents,
unifier, exactly,
right?
and we all
Different age group brackets,
Yeah.
but we still have there's that unifier.
It is. It brings the world together, and it unifies a nation. If you look at South Africa, and I'm not going to go too far down this road just because it's South Africa and political and that kind of stuff, but it's such a unifier for the country during tough political times,
Right.
because anybody from any background can get behind our national rugby team when they go to the World Cup and they win it. Everybody is in full support of that team at once.
Yeah.
So it unifies a nation.
Yeah.
Man, those guys have a tough job because it's not just winning the game. It's you're a political figure, you're famous, you're a
I've
star.
always thought about that. Like we take the NFL so seriously in this
Yeah.
country, and MLB. But in every 4 years, there's an American team that participates in the Olympics. But I'll be honest with you, the Olympics, I don't think Americans really, outside of a few events. We had a 1980 hockey team that upset the Russians and some other things, but it's not a big unifier for the country. Like I think in the past, the Olympics have been for other countries.
Yeah, sure.
Not a big deal here, though.
I think you guys are you've got so many athletes across the board, like from ping pong to sprinting to pole vaulting. Then you have the other side of it, which is now what I don't know when it's coming up soon. Now it would be the Winter Olympics.
Right.
So we watch, and we as South Africans, or the rest of the world. Definitely I had to go and learn what everything's about, because we don't ski like you guys. We don't snowboard. Snowmobiles is a thing that happens in America. It's not something that we have back home, because there's no need for that kind of thing. So
Right.
I think if you're looking at the American team across the board, there's so many different disciplines that how is it it's not easy to get behind your nation. You'd get behind your interest within that Olympics.
Got it.
So it still is not unifying everybody.
Yeah.
Where rugby or football or something like that, where the whole city or the whole country is
That's
behind a team.
powerful to me. That's why Americans just don't. We will never really get soccer. It's a thing in this country, but it's
Yeah.
not really a thing. I mean, it goes through these periods of popularity, but it's so dwarfed by NFL,
Yeah.
by hockey, by the basketball,
Sure.
and even baseball to a degree. Baseball used to be top dog of all of our sports until about probably 25, 30 years ago, and then football took it, and baseball has even sunk. Some will argue that baseball is probably the third or fourth sport right now.
For sure. I mean, just find it so interesting. Like I've never watched basketball. Me being 5'11", it's never really been an interest.
So what do you think of that when you watch the game?
I love the NBA. The squeaking of the shoes gets to me a bit. I think it's
It always did to me too.
yeah. I don't know. It's just something that I find it's not irritating to the point where I won't watch, but I don't have to watch a whole game. It's not something that I strive to go and see live.
Okay.
I'd love to see the athletes like LeBron James.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I was here when Kobe passed away in the country, and I was flying out of Atlanta, and I can see it means a lot to people.
Sure.
And these guys are very important within American culture.
But is that also true in your country?
Oh.
Like the soccer stars or the rugby stars, don't they carry national prominence?
They do. I think it's actually easier for guys in South Africa because everybody watches the Springboks play. So we've got like an internal league, like your NFL,
right,
where we've got club teams from each city, you know, your franchises,
yeah.
but then
And that's
those
cool.
guys form an international team that then travel the world and play England, Wales, New Zealand, Australia, and then
And is that a different league? Is that so? I've
that's
always understood
international,
that.
yeah.
Okay, so that's always puzzled me about soccer. Like I have some friends of mine who just love the English soccer league, which that would be the equivalent of like the NFL here, right?
yes, so like the Premier League.
The Premier League, right?
Yes.
But it's based upon towns like we have,
Yes.
and then the best of those folks then represent England in other leagues, or
Well,
is it?
so it would be the international league.
Okay.
And
which is different from and that's even different from the Olympics, right?
Yeah. It is. It's completely different. So, like the World Cup is an independent. So it's just to do with the pretty much how. So the easiest way to explain it is rugby. So every 4 years, you have to qualify. The United States play in the Rugby World Cup. Almost every 4 years, you're one of the powerhouses of the Americas.
The rugby?
The rugby.
American rugby team?
Yeah, the USA Eagles.
No idea. I didn't even know.
How crazy. You guys actually go to the Rugby World Cup. I mean, you're not very good when you come against the powerhouses like New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, but you give us a good run for our money.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen some
Okay.
touch and
I
go
didn't
games
even know they
there.
were called the Eagles.
Yeah, it's the USA Eagles.
I might have to get a jersey now.
And they're pretty cool jerseys as well. Like, yeah, for sure. I've actually got a USA Rugby ball that says USA Rugby
that's
on
cool.
it. Yeah, that I'm actually taking back with me now because I would never get something like that. So I'm actually keeping it for myself.
Right on.
So yeah, they meet, and then you've got the pool stages. So pretty much like your regular season, but it's all condensed into like 3-month period because the guys will fly. The last one was in Japan, so these guys will have to like fly across the world, go there, and then be there for a certain amount of time to acclimatize and so on. And then what will happen is the group stages will start, and then you'll have the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the final. So there's a whole bunch that goes into sport. And yeah, I mean, if you just look at sport in general, it unifies nations to stand together no matter what's going on in that country.
Right.
Especially when it's international like that. So I feel for these guys because they've got a heck of a lot of responsibility on their shoulders.
It seems, again, to me though, it seems like we in America don't have the same allegiance and quote unquote unity for our teams that go compete in the world as other countries do for their teams. Like that, what you're describing to me for the rugby team for South Africa is like that's a powerhouse.
It's a powerhouse.
And the whole country is like just like on it.
No matter what you look like, where you come from, what your background is, you have one thing to unify
And
behind.
I think that's really positive. And I can't say in this country there's been many instances where the whole country's got unified for one team to go do that. We were always hoping that on the soccer front that would happen.
And you know what I
Never
think, like so many of your soccer players from both the women's and the men's side have really tried to bring equality to a lot of situations. But when you play a sport in a country like America where the NBA, the MLB, NFL is such a big thing, people are so behind their own city and where they come from.
Right.
They're proud. Like I just flew through Denver to get back from Jackson Hole, and it's crazy to see. It was very busy, obviously, with holiday season and all that kind of stuff coming up. The different amount of people that wear sports attire in an airport from different parts of the country. It's wild.
Yeah,
like, it's something that you wouldn't see. Like in South Africa, it would
it
all
isn't
be the
casual.
Springbok.
Like I think America's gotten very casual in dress. I'm not saying it's a good thing. But
No,
I'm saying
I think there needs to be a certain standard in airports. Listen, I spend a lot of time in airports. I have seen some scary stuff.
Yeah, I 100%. And there used to be a standard where you couldn't fly unless you had a collared. For men, they had to have a collared shirt. I'm not saying we go that rigid again.
Yeah, but at least wear proper pants.
Or pants at all.
Pants at all.
Yeah, and you got to have shoes and
Yeah, like I watched some guy, like I don't know where he was from. Like I watched him, and I love people watching. It's how I pass the time with my job.
Start taking pictures, buddy.
So anyway, I watched a guy walking through like Denver's a busy place. It's a big airport. Like it's wild for me. Like it's crazy. It's so much bigger than anything I'm used to. Atlanta's the same.
And that's a newer one, isn't it?
I think it's just been built in the last couple of years, kind of thing. And it's quite far from the city itself. It's actually
a lot
quite
of conspiracies
far.
about that airport. Like there's some bad shit being
really?
hidden underneath it. Yeah. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. You look that up on your own, buddy.
I'm gonna
you look that up on your own. Maybe
that
next time you come back, we'll talk about that.
I think we need to do a conspiracy one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's yeah. So that airport being so far out and so on. But in any case, back to this guy. He's wearing it's winter, guys. It's cold outside. Like you still have to walk off the plane, like it's cold. But he's in like dirty short pants, no shoes, a backpack. His shoes are attached to his backpack, and I'm just like, bro, like you're walking in an international airport. It's not a clean surface that you like, just for yourself, not even for everybody around you. Like, why would you not want to wear shoes in a public place? And I think there should be certain standards put in place that if you can't just walk around barefoot. First of all, you're adding to the dirt. It's pretty gross. But people watching in airports, it should be a sport.
It's funny. You're speaking like a very logical, pragmatic thinking human. And I think in this country, we're going down a slippery slope where we are not conducting ourselves like that. We are just worried about everybody having the right to do whatever the fuck they want at any cost. And we don't want anybody telling us what we can do. And Americans... it's funny, our freedom thing is so amazing, and so many folks around the world seem to really admire how much freedom we have here. Okay,
I'm definitely one of those people, but I get what you're saying.
There are some issues though. That all that freedom brings some disorganization and some other really interesting questions, which the pandemic has
brought to the forefront.
Absolutely, and I profess to have no answers. I'm just saying that it doesn't come without its challenges.
I'll be honest, I don't have any of the answers. I've got all the questions.
Yeah, well, me too. I mean,
because I can't think in my head like practically how that's comfortable. Not wearing shoes in an airport, just as an example. But he has the right to do it, and he feels like that's what he's going to do. So rules are there to sometimes be bent and broken. I've lived my life. I was naughty growing up, and I've always been a wild child. My mother will attest to that off the bat, but I still learned value and moral. And I think what comes with that is that freedom needs to be there, but it needs to be followed by the teaching of morals and values.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of people in this country that agree with you. There are some people in this country that think that that should not be a requirement to maneuver through society.
Exactly.
And that clash is happening daily.
Yeah, and I think it's something. I mean, I'll just look at your guys, the veterans that walk around, from the Vietnam War and so on, and much due respect to those men for going into those situations. I know there's a big view on that, but they're proud people. He's got his cap on, his veteran's cap. He dresses very amicably for the airport because he's portraying moral and value. It's
a bygone generation.
It is.
They were the greatest Americans. The prior generations were just amazing. We wouldn't have what we have today. We wouldn't have this freedom to fuck up like we're doing without these people.
Exactly.
Yet we don't treat them very well, which is mind-blowing in some circles.
Yeah, no, in a lot of circles, I think there is that sort of allegiance to them and so on, but I just find, like we don't have anything like that.
Like, what do you mean? So
we, like our veterans and so on, due to the political situation, our political history in South Africa, there's a big divide.
No doubt.
I'm not going to get into that because that is, I
understand.
Yeah, I don't mess around with that kind of stuff. I have my views and that's it. But I still think we've lost what made us great, in a way. Okay. I don't want to sound like the other guy. I'm not trying to make South Africa great again. Just putting that out there.
Fair enough.
But we lost that moral and that it's a sense of pride. It's a sense of pride and sacrifice where you've come from.
Right.
And with everybody being allowed to do whatever the heck they want in this country at the moment, in America, I think you're losing moral and pride and where you come from. Because you're right, your country wouldn't be without those people.
Right, it breeds selfishness.
It does. And I think everybody has this right to an opinion. Just because you have the right to opinion doesn't mean that you have to express it.
I like the way that's said.
Yeah. So you have the right to your opinion, but think about how that opinion could affect the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I love about Americans is that people speak their mind more openly and easily.
Really?
I've found that here. Maybe it's the circles that I'm within that people are not shy. But that's why I love traveling with Americans, because in general they're more open, they're more excitable about stuff. I find Europeans can be quite snobbish in a way. There's a certain standard and just European way.
Do you think it's the old world versus the new world things? I've always felt that about Europeans to a degree, that they have so much history and culture there.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's unbelievable. But I mean, they look at the other, especially America, but we're 300, 200 years old, whatever we are, 280 years old, whatever.
Yeah.
The point being, we're an infant compared to them. So
Well,
there's
yeah.
that top-down view, like,
So you guys are like, as American, I think it's what we learn about as American culture and stuff, is that you guys progressed so fast. If you go look at the history of America, like everything here has happened so quickly,
it's insane.
and you just went boom, and the world went, okay, hello. And that's America. It's bigger, it's better, it's faster, it's stronger. It's at least meant to be.
Yeah.
And everything is bigger and better. If you just look at your pickup trucks, it's some of the most outrageous stuff I've ever seen in my life.
I'm sorry about that.
I just feel like they could literally just drive over you. Like you wouldn't even be hit by that thing. They're ginormous. But it's that kind of hunger that built a country like this, but
No
they
question.
had moral and pride to be bigger and better, but do it the correct way.
I think this country exemplifies a lot of that, the good in what you just described too. We do have, and we've always had elements of unchecked capitalism, which has hurt the environment, which has hurt which has hurt the innocent. There's always some of that. There's always going to be a couple bad eggs in any system. I think right now we've got more bad eggs than we would like in mucking up the system, but it's still an amazing system. It's going through some pains right now.
And you know what? That happens everywhere.
Yeah.
You guys are no different to the rest of the world. We go through it back home. It's just something that you need to adapt with and make the change. If you don't like something, vote against it.
Right.
Vote for what you believe in, because you have that given right.
Yeah, 100%. And think about the places in this world that don't even have that. We're fortunate to have what we have.
I mean, we just got to look at that poor Chinese tennis star, if you want to tie all of this in. That, what's her name?
I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
maybe
with the whole thing where they're blocking the CNN signals to report on it and everything. She lives in a world. She's a famous figure internationally.
Right.
And yet, because of sexual allegations, and we know how the Chinese government does things, but those kind of guys, like, she is a world stage figure, and she essentially disappeared because of her government. There's no freedom there.
No.
There's not
all.
the land of the free.
Not at all. And it's interesting because what's fascinating to me was I'm a big pro-capitalist guy.
Yeah.
I just free market systems. I find very few things wrong with them. I find things wrong with humans that maneuver in there.
Yes,
but the system.
agreed. But the system is meant to work.
Absolutely. That being said, we've made not just America. I think the quote unquote free world made a moral decision decades ago to do business with the Chinese.
Yes. Africa.
Yeah, 100%. And in communist nations in general, we were okay that, well, we deplore their oppressive government, we're going to do business with them. And that was the slippery slope that enriched a lot of humans on the planet and grew capitalism and grew America. A lot of America. But the consequences are you're now in a quagmire. You're still
100%.
We're not only indebted, we're intertwined in so many logistical nightmarish ways with regimes that oppress their people in horrible ways, and we're always kind of keeping one eye open to the opportunities and the other eye closed to the human rights abuses, and it's just really sad.
I mean, Africa, if you look at the Western world, being America, this side of it, and Europe to a large extent, because they're also quite on your level with development and that kind of stuff. But Africa is just it's a land of, if you're willing to give me money, I'll give you whatever you want. So this now goes to the point of what's happening in South Africa at the moment with Shell, which is a big corporation. It's around the world. It's multinational. It's massive. Okay, You don't need a Shell to come to South Africa to use sonic sound off our coast, off the wild coast of South Africa, to find natural gas and oil. We don't want you there. And I'm going to say this in
Let's talk about it.
very, very straightforward terms about this and how I feel as a conservationist at heart. The world is turning a blind eye and things are going to die. So what they're pretty much doing is they're using sound explosion, air guns underneath the water to send a pulse through that hits the seabed floor and pulses back up, almost like sonar in a way, but it is extremely loud, to map the seabed floor looking for natural gas and oil. Now, the knock-on effect of this, a whale calf needs to communicate over a certain distance with its mother. When the mother goes and feeds and leaves it in a safe area, it now can't communicate with mom, so it's not being fed. What happens? It dies. Dolphins, they're such integrated animals within their family structure. They rely on each other. Now, sound can separate that underwater. It's been, man, this gets me upset, but it really is. A company like Shell should be doing more for the world and not taking away.
Right.
And it was stopped here in the Atlantic. They were told not to do it.
Okay.
So now you're exploiting an African country to get your way either. Because you can do things underhanded. It's actually the people at the top that need to be held to task for doing this. It's enough now. We can't keep going around and
How
expecting...
long has this been going on?
So this is now it's planned to start on the 1st of December.
Okay, so where's the pushback?
The pushback is that it causes... the sound is so loud that it causes tissue damage to animals.
No, I get all that, but I'm saying I meant to say what is the is there any organized pushback? Is there?
Oh yes, so there is a movement within South Africa. Do a bit more research on it. I've obviously been a bit out of the loop being here and so on, and I've really just started reading up on this.
Right.
But I feel like I need to bring it to sort of a platform where other people can get educated on it. But there is a movement. You can go look it up. There are petitions to sign. Just search Wild Coast South Africa and Shell, and it will come up. You'll find it, and you'll be able to do more research on it yourself. I just think there's some die-hard people that live in the Wild Coast. Is really the Wild Coast. There's so much aquatic life there. It's untouched.
Right.
It's a safe haven for marine wildlife.
You said Wild Coast.
Wild Coast, yeah.
Okay.
And it's along the eastern seaboard, south of KwaZulu-Natal, the province that I live in.
Okay.
Into the Eastern Cape.
Now, where is that in proximity to the Ivory Coast? People say the Ivory Coast.
Well, Ivory Coast is northwest Africa. This would be sort of here.
Okay.
And the Ivory Coast would be here, and we're down here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Ivory Coast is North Africa.
Yeah.
The North African countries. Okay.
Yeah, like northwest.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is that by sending these pulses into the water, the knock-on effect, there's hearing loss for animals. There's literal marine life that washes up because they die from the pulse. It's insane. And
did they just I always wonder what are the requirements to get the quote unquote permission, or even
how much money do you have in your pocket to give to a government? Because they pretty much will let you do anything in Africa at the moment. And that's the sad part.
For money.
And because I get that money now, I suppose a lot of people look at the world that way. But if I take this now, I don't care what the knock-on effect is.
Yeah.
And the guy that had previous control of your country through the last elections, he was trying to do that essentially to the Arctic Wildlife Refuge with oil. It all comes down to this oil and fossil fuel.
Right.
So why is a guy like Elon Musk not stepping up and saying, hey, stop? Why is he not backing this?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, he's just said he's going to back world hunger with $6 billion and blah, blah, blah. But there's so much more that you can do. And he's a South African.
Right.
He should be at the forefront. He's talking sustainability, exploration. That's what his game is.
Right.
Step up and get there.
The problem that we're facing right now, I think, is that we've had an energy problem really
for a long time.
Yeah, since the 70s, right? There was electric cars were like an idea that people actually tried in America in the 70s.
Sure.
The thing is, we keep kicking the can down the road, and at some point in time, if you're gonna make this conversion to move away from fossil fuels in a big way, there's gonna be a lot of pain involved with doing that.
Oh, for sure.
And the pain's going to be super high prices, and maybe that's what President Biden's doing. He's saying that we got to face this pain at some point. I don't know if I entirely agree with what he's doing, but I understand at some point, if we're going to move away from it, if that's the best thing for the planet at some point, it's not going to be transparent. It's going to come with pain.
It's going to come with pain, but the positive side of it from my industry is that safari companies are becoming sustainable more and more, becoming more and more green, where I think the general gist of it was like, oh, well, we'll put you on a big old Land Cruiser and just we'll burn fossil fuels. Now there is pressure, and guys have started bringing in electrical
I would think.
motors.
I mean, yeah, the diesel can't be helping those animals out any,
No,
right?
it's not. Unfortunately, that's the one side to this, but you've got to be able to use a little bit in that industry to educate a lot. Where I find a lot of the use in the world is not educating enough either.
Right on.
So with electrical vehicles coming into safari, yes, they've got a certain range that they can drive. So there are these limiting factors. But if we don't take those steps now, how are we ever going to change?
Got it.
So it's up to us now.
Yeah.
It's the world is on a tipping point, and I think so many people have said that through time. But we're not dealing with a world war. There's no major war at the moment. If you think about it, there's very localized stuff, whether it's in Africa or the East or wherever, but the Middle East. But this is the time to act environmentally. We need to take a stand together, collectively, and say enough is enough. You are not coming to the South African coast to do this. We are going to take you on.
Right.
Because if people cannot stand up and do that, we're just going to be swept under the carpet. We're not going to have the right. Wildlife is going to disappear, and it's happening right in front of our eyes.
And
it's so scary.
Decades. We've been seeing it for decades.
Yeah, but you know what? There were so many other factors at play, like wars and that, like world wars and that kind of stuff. I mean, things have been going extinct for many years, but now is the time to really make that change.
Right on.
Let's get there. We have the technology. We're a technology-fueled world. Use that technology for the good.
Agreed.
So I just feel like we have so much at our fingertips versus 30 years ago, even 20 years ago.
No question.
Everything's right here. Educate yourself as well. Go in search of these things. And no one's asking you to donate like they ask on television, with the creepy little flies flying in the corner, or it's very graphic. We're not saying that. We're saying educate yourself, sign a petition, and help us out.
Right.
That's all it takes. It takes 2 minutes out of your day, and you've done something positive for the environment. That's how easy it is now.
No doubt.
You don't have to send $10 for a month, to save world hunger. Those things have got their place, and I'm not in full agreement, but I'm not in disagreement.
I understand.
But I just think to sign a petition that is going worldwide, go and find these things. Like, educate yourself. The world is disappearing in front of your eyes.
Yeah, and again, Americans, it's hard to get us to understand the gravity of that because of where we are. We have everything.
You do, and me being out west in like Wyoming, Montana, and seeing those kind of places, and how much more can actually be done there in a country like this, it raises my eyebrows. It's scary. I stood along a stream. I'll share some of the photographs with you that maybe we can chip in here.
Right.
Where I was photographing a moose that had come down to this creek to drink, and there's goldfish in there because people have chucked their pet goldfish into the local. So in Wyoming, goldfish are an invasive species, killing off natural fish stocks.
Right.
Because people dump because somebody died and they like goldfish. I'll chuck my goldfish in here. And it's actually it's such an invasive species. You look at a creek and there's a goldfish. I was like, I didn't know about this before. I went and read up on it in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
But you're standing photographing a moose and there's a goldfish. And I was like, surely that's not right. So I read up, and it's a massive problem for Wyoming and its national parks system.
Wow.
Goldfish.
There was not mistaken, there was a fish from Florida that someone brought from, I thought it was Africa, and they
it's the snakehead.
Snakehead.
That's for
And
Asia.
Asia. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's become an issue now. Like, and it's gotten all the way to the Great Lakes, I think. It
Yeah.
was a big thing a couple of years ago. I haven't heard much on it.
Well, Florida
recently.
is like a melting pot for bad wildlife. If you go look at the python situation, like Burmese python and so on, because people buy these pets, they've let them into the Everglades. I think you guys have lost like marsh hare. I can't think of, there's some sort of rodent. There's nothing left. Like pythons are eating alligators in Florida. Seriously.
That's insanity.
It's literally, pythons are now eating pythons because there's no other food.
Wow.
The Everglades is completely overrun. Like if you go shoot python, Florida will pay you for that.
There's that many.
There's that many that it's completely overrunning. There's like such little wild deer left. Like I'm saying specifically about the Everglades. How mind-blowing. In a country like this, there hasn't been more done.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody can do what they want without repercussion.
Bingo. That's it.
And that knocks on from some normal life in a city to the wildlife to environmental to political. People just are not held accountable for what they do.
Mm-hmm.
If I go and release a species into a stream in Wyoming, surely like you think about the knock-on effect. That is so much education.
That requires folks to be not selfish, and it also requires people to have what used to be just normal thought patterns, but in today's world you have to label that now as more sophisticated thought, because we're so unsophisticated in the way we reason anymore now, because everything's just and all we think about is ourselves.
I know, it's wild. It's that instant gratification that I look for by wanting to live in a place like this. Okay, to a certain extent, because I realize that
But we've run amok.
It's going way too far.
Yeah.
And that it's just so scary. Like that a goldfish in Wyoming is killing natural fish stocks. Guys, deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop trying to tell us that you're trying this and trying that.
Solve the problem.
If I'm walking in a meadow and I'm looking at multiple goldfish, they're there. Why don't you have a net as the park service and just go catch them?
Mm-hmm.
Remove them from that ecosystem before it becomes like the Everglades, which is beyond saving.
A goldfish.
Yeah,
Can cause that much damage.
It causes, because what it does is it takes away natural food sources. So if you look at a goldfish, it takes out the natural fish population because of competition and how they reproduce so fast. So now what does a bald eagle catch? What does he eat? Fish.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, I thought you meant a certain kind.
No, it's natural fish stocks.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So the knock-on effect of that, so the scraps now, when like if this gets into like Alaska with the bears and the salmon run and they're out competing those salmon, the knock-on effect environmentally of invasive species is so big.
Got it.
And that eventually affects us.
Mm-hmm.
Because the natural world without us would be going on as per normal.
No doubt.
We're the only.
That's so sad.
We are the major influencer.
We're the disruptor.
We are the destructor.
Destructor. Better word.
Yeah, we've disrupted, but now it's on us to stop the destruction. And that is what's happening. And that's why companies like Shell need to be held accountable
No doubt.
for what they are planning to do. We don't want you there. Take your ship and
It
bugger
sounds
off.
almost diabolical.
It's disgusting.
I mean,
like there's no environmental impact studies from a company like Shell.
mm-hmm.
Come on, guys.
And they're all guilty.
And they're all guilty. That's the problem, is that I'm guilty, you look after me because I've got stuff on you. And it's that whole conspiracy theory about who's got who's back.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not even a conspiracy.
But
That's how
honestly,
politics and governments
exactly.
worked with corporations for decades.
For so long.
centuries.
But honestly, to Shell, if anybody sees this, take your ship and bugger off. We don't want you.
There you go.
Go away. We don't need you. Our economy, none of it is worth giving up that wildlife at all. Go away.
The destruction it'll do.
This is meant to take, so those air guns blast 5 to 10 minutes for 5 months straight. For 5 months. Mm-hmm. Imagine somebody blowing an air horn at you 5 minutes.
And their argument's going to be, obviously, it doesn't do any. There's no negative effect to the ecology. Am I right?
Then why did we stop you in the Atlantic? Because of the knock-on effects that it had there. You've just taken advantage of a small African country.
He's not pushing back.
Who's not going to push back.
Right.
Because it happened here,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an American-based company, so Americans said, no, environmentally, this is not good.
Yeah.
So you took your stuff and went to Africa.
Right.
It's very dishonest.
No doubt.
And we're losing that. in the world. Being an honest person doesn't make you a great or a better person, but maybe you'll make a little change in someone's day.
It makes you a decent person.
Makes you
and
decent.
the world could use some more decency.
100%.
All right, so you, per my request, are going to review some of the animals that you find in the bush, right?
we
got to turn this on.
Yeah, we're
I
gonna
guess
try to pop it up
I
there.
guess I have to put the electronics on here.
Yeah.
See, we have a TV. I kind of screwed up, man. I was supposed to get a TV up there. I should get a little bigger one.
But I like it because it's not imposing.
You don't think?
Nah, I quite like it. Okay, so...
All right, so hold on a second. No signal, HDMI 1. Hold on. We had the wrong input here. Let's see.
I hope it's not on my side.
No, let's see. Is it HDMI 2? Not yet. Is that cable plugged in?
Yeah, it's all plugged in.
Okay, hold on. All right, so HDMI 1. All right.
Yeah, so are we looking at sort of general animals that you want to look at, or
are you connected, my friend?
I am. Hey, I should be. It's in here. I don't know if that end of the cable is connected though. That's
better be.
Yeah. I've got. I'm fully connected.
Let's see if we got. I'll edit all this crap out. We're good.
Normally the screen should switch, and I should just be able to sort of use it from here.
100%.
I'm gonna unplug here and just try a different port.
So the HDMI cable is definitely live.
Okay, let me.
Is there something setting on? I mean, that's a MacBook.
It should just switch straight across.
Or maybe I'm on. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not on number 2. Aha.
Hey, life.
Bada bing.
Okay, let's see if
Check
I open
that
something
out.
up.
So the idea, I just wanted you to maybe show me some photographs and talk a little bit about some of these amazing animals.
Okay, let's see. Let's go to view. Yeah, it's definitely your destruction on the other side with the light. I just saw it move.
It's, you know what? That's definitely me. I'm probably kicking like something over there. I'm sure it's probably me. Well, let's just keep it on you so I can.
I don't know why it's not coming through picture-wise.
Is that your screenshot?
That is my screen, but I've got a leopard in front of me at the moment, and that's not coming through.
All right. Multiple? Can you do multiple home screens on that?
Let's try something here quickly. Because there's some pretty cool photos that I put together.
Because there's you can see on the top of the screen. Is your mouse showing up? Can you get your mouse to show?
So if I go up here, so I'm clicking on that Dropbox folder at the moment, and that's not opening up. So it's almost like it's frozen.
That's very strange. Why don't you reboot?
Let me switch off here and quickly just see if it comes back.
Reboot it and see.
Because normally it'll give me like a screen mirroring.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's exit that. Yeah, but I mean, if we just look at what we were saying about like environmental factors and so on while we wait for this to boost up.
Right.
I just find like there's so much people can do by just creating awareness, and it's so simple to just, instead of just reading from a certain person's point of view, go and do your own reading. We might be in luck here. But yeah, so these environmental factors that are taking place, and yes, it's so localized. Each country has its problems, and I understand that, but I feel like the people in power need to be doing more to conserve wildlife. You know, and to be seeing like goldfish in Wyoming. I mean, there's a serious problem.
Yeah.
Why is there not more being done? I mean, it's on the internet. I did the research. I went and read up about it. I thought maybe there's a North American goldfish as a species. Dead serious.
Could be, right? You figure it out.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Let's see if I just move that down there. Okay. So with us launching this online store for photographics and so on, it's going live quite soon. It's not quite there. Us doing things, we like being super professional and super.
Are you actually gonna sell
the photographs for the first time?
Good for you. That's fantastic.
Never done something like this. I've always,
right on.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it as uncommercial in a way as possible. But so if we look up here, I spoke about melanistic animals and serval and like finding the weird and wonderful things out there as well. Like you can take people to see a lion anywhere. You know, a lot of people have seen lions in a zoo. It's very different out there, obviously, but they don't see what nature can vary like. Okay, so this little dude up here, he's probably the coolest thing that I have ever photographed. Check that guy out. That is a melanistic serval cat.
That looks like...
It's like a, you know what a savanna cat is here?
Yeah.
I think
Katie has one.
Yeah, so this is just the melanistic version of that.
The eyes look droopy. Like, is that like a...
I think he's just looking down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's him walking through, you can equate it to sagebrush out west. So like Yellowstone and so on. So it's very similar. It's also a herby kind of plant where lots of little rodents and so on live. But
so for perspective though, how is that? Am I looking at an animal that's much bigger than a...
No, so it'll be the size of a savanna cat.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be jumping back and forward now on the phone.
That's fine.
Let me see if I can quickly find this.
Well, I've seen her cat. I've seen her savanna cat.
I'll give you an example here. I've got an image.
Is that the same family as an ocelot?
It's similar.
Okay.
Savanna cats or serval, which is the correct name for it, would be... it's just a smaller cat. They can be domesticated and so on. Obviously, that's happened here.
Beautiful.
And then
these are you shot. You shot that.
These are all my photographs.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this is completely me. And then that's Manja. He's very famous now. He doesn't know it, but he's very famous in the wildlife conservation circles because it's been recorded that they were seeing these melanistic cats from I think the early 1900s when the German explorers were in Tanzania because it was a very German-run state.
Okay.
And there was like written record, but no photographic evidence until this guy popped up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like till very recently.
That's
I think
crazy.
It's like 2 or 3 years
That's
ago
crazy.
that this has been really photographed.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty insane.
Okay.
So yeah, very unique animal, and now they are sort of popping up as everything. Like once one is found, now they're seeing another one somewhere else. So yeah,
that's cool.
And then we also spoke about these guys, which are super cool. So this is
wait, what is that?
So that is an African wild dog.
An African wild dog.
Or painted wolf. So it's part of the wolf family, but it is in Africa.
So Australia has the dingo.
That came from like a domestic animal. It came from dogs that then went out. I'm sure what I know about it, I'm always open to correction, but from what I know, dingoes got to Australia through domestic dogs. It's a very... I think there's a mix. There's something to do with domestic animals in that.
But what am I staring at here?
So that is the African wild dog, and that is in the wild. It's a pack animal. Essentially it's an African wolf. The same kind of social structures like your wolves here. It's a beautiful animal. It's a painted wolf.
Wow.
Which is pretty rad. Unfortunately, you don't get too many shots of them because, you know, they're quite difficult to find. And then,
yeah.
And then this is one of the female leopards that I photographed.
Wow, look at that.
In the Kruger National Park, and yeah, she's quite unique herself. So she's quite young, but very successful, and she's sort of like come to the top of this specific area, sort of central Kruger National Park, where she's taken a lot of territory. So there's a story behind every photograph or every animal that I photograph. I go and do research on them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's not just a leopard to me. Like often I can't find anything because there are so many leopards there that are not recorded properly and so on. But the ones that are in popular areas, they're pretty cool.
Here's a dumb question. Like, how do you know that's the one? Like, would you be able to?
Oh, yeah,
would you be able to tell that was? Could you go see this animal again?
Yes, I could.
This particular animal.
So I'll show you here as I open this up again. So around this sort of area. So if you see where my mouse is, that's a spot pattern.
Okay.
So there's many ways to identify them. So they normally have quite a unique necklace. And then the spot pattern above the whiskers is how we would keenly identify them.
Okay.
And then also above the brow. So you can see she's a 2-2 there. There's a 1-2 and there's a 1-2 there, but the spacing will vary. So it's all on photographic portfolio.
Interesting.
So I'll
They're
know.
markings then.
That's the
They're
marking.
Unique markings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and that's not a great one to explain about rosettes, but here on the side you can see that it's not a true spot.
Okay.
So you can actually tell that leopard and cheetah look different because of that spot.
Got it.
So it would just be a solid black spot on a cheetah. There wouldn't be the rosette on it.
Okay.
So these animals get so, like, you get so obsessive with them when you photograph them and you watch their life story, because it's like watching a wildlife documentary in front of your eyes every single day when you do what I do. It's amazing. And you get so invested in these animals. It's pretty crazy. Let's go to, so this is quite close to where I live in South Africa, is a national park. So this is kind of the stuff that I'm doing when I'm filming short sort of things. It's not always the most stable.
And
but
that is an elephant.
that is now an African elephant.
An African elephant. Oh, that's so cool.
And this is on my doorstep. This is like 2 hours north of where I live.
Make sure you get me his video clip.
I will do. It's pretty cool, eh? Like, he's just doing his thing, and then I was a bit in his way, so you'll see he gives me a warning sign.
Oh man, look at that.
That's wild.
Are you able to send me the photos like in an order? Would you have the order for me so we know in terms of how they were presented? It just makes it easier for editing.
I've got that's why I took these folders. So
awesome, buddy.
I try to keep it.
No, it's fine. And any way you want to deliver, it's fine. Just want to make sure I have a easier way to do it.
Here's that melanistic serval. So he got super close, and as we look at this image, I'll drop another one to show you how close I actually got when I photographed him. So my lens was a bit close.
No doubt.
But I've
what
got
was it, 200 to 600 millimeter?
No, that was a 24 to 70 f2.8, so wide angle.
Whoa. How close was that animal to you?
Super close. But he's so well versed with vehicles. They've taken their time to habituate this animal, so you're not making him tame, you're getting him used to this, to how we do things, on safari.
Wow.
If I can just find this quickly. There's so many wildlife photos on here. It's crazy. It's out of this world. I'm so lucky. Like, with what I do, it's outrageous. Here, I'll put this up. Then I'll quickly airdrop that. But
technology,
technology at your fingertips all the time. It's pretty incredible. That should be. So here he is walking through like the open plain. So as you can see, it's not just straight grassland either. It's a lot of shrubs. And he's looking for mice here.
Look at that thing.
How incredible. And you can hear the camera shutter in the background, obviously, going crazy. There's the lens that I used.
Oh, wow.
So that's Jen taking that photograph of him walking past. I can't guarantee the audio on some of these videos.
It sure is.
I'm really, really lucky to do what I do and see these kind of things. And then this is like the end result of that.
That's a unique looking animal, huh?
Yeah.
Look at that.
And that's the end result. It's beautiful.
It's just so different than what you see in the States. It's just totally...
Yeah, but then like for the same part in the States, and like your wildlife is so amazing to me because
I understand.
I'm like seeing this kind of stuff out there. It's not normal, but it is normal to an extent.
Got it.
Because you're so used to going out, and for us to grow up and know that there are lions 2 hours north of where you live. I mean, there's lions in Johannesburg. Wild lions. There's lion parks, that kind of stuff. I don't fully agree with lion parks because they're feeding animals and all that kind of stuff. But here, let me find this quickly. So this is me in action. Okay, so I'm going to put this up.
Okay.
This is what it looks like in Jackson Hole, Wyoming when I'm out there and it's freezing cold. It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. And so this is me in action and how I set up.
Oh, check this out.
That's how I set up.
Look at you.
2 cameras, camo snow pants on, because it doesn't look like there was snow. There is actually snow on the ground.
Right.
But it's actually not for the snow. It's just so cold for me coming.
What were you shooting that day?
There was a moose. So I haven't actually posted those photographs. Those are coming. So I'll send that to you too. We can pop it in
awesome.
here. But yeah, so
awesome.
That was just before this moose had walked down where I saw the goldfish. That's where I saw the goldfish. So I'm essentially standing on like a little bank for like a little canal creek kind of thing. And there's goldfish at the bottom and a moose across the other side, which is just so wild.
So just on a technical standpoint, you're shooting Sony's, right?
Yeah, so that's...
the A7s?
That's an A9 II.
A9 II.
A9 II with the 200-600 on it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, solid setup. Hey?
No doubt, man.
That's the good stuff.
No doubt.
And then, so you can see versus the photograph of the black serval versus this, it's 2 different worlds. Where here, like, you're parking on a road, which is going to someone's house essentially, and getting out and walking to go see the moose.
Got it.
We are driving on a road system in the Serengeti, but you're not getting out of the vehicle. You're driving to that animal. So the animals are habituated in different ways.
Right.
Because this is it's like almost like commercial land in a way, because if you think about it, it's housing
Right.
developments, golf courses, but that's trying to coexist with the wildlife. It's not just shut out.
Wow.
No, it's pretty wild. Let me look here quickly. Here's a quick, it's not the best video clip, but it's one that I have on hand of some rhino.
Check that out.
So that's just north of where I live as well. So that's a very young calf. So it's probably 6 to 8 months old. And look at how happy they are when we just don't interfere. And this area is unique, and that's something you're not going to see often, is the horn attached, because we have to dehorn due to poaching problems.
Okay.
And you can see it's something that grows. It will grow back. It's like your hair, the keratin
Right.
and so on, like we've discussed. But
Right. They still take it, huh?
oh, for sure. And
You
then
said it was for Chinese medicine?
Chinese, medicine, and it can be traced back like to early emperors and so on. Yeah, it didn't help that I think it was where was this guy from? Vietnam, I think it was. He said that rhino horn cured his cancer. It's impossible. It doesn't do that. So it doesn't help the poaching problem. But this is quite a wicked snake. So
Whoa, what is that?
that's an African rock python, and he is busy drinking after some rain. So you'll see how he moves. Sorry, the video does go a bit out of focus, but we can see it.
Now, what distance are you from?
Oh no, I'm keeping a bit of distance there. It's a constrictor, so it's like an anaconda. So it
it's
doesn't
not
have.
gonna
It's not
bite.
venom. Yeah, it will bite you to attach to you and then constrict you. It doesn't have venom, so it's got multiple rows of teeth. So
Okay.
there he's just sort of moving along. I didn't get much closer than that.
So I judge everything based upon lens length.
So that's at about 600 mils.
Okay. Okay.
I'm out of
it
the
wasn't
vehicle.
a 2470. Just checking.
No, I don't.
Just checking.
You know what? I like them.
Not that much.
Not that much, but here's some other photographs of mine that I've taken recently. There's an elephant feeding.
Wow, look at that.
A big bull elephant. No, that's quite close. That was at about, I'd say, 80 to 100 mils when I took that photograph, but I'm parked on the road. Now, you often find the big bulls, unless they go into must when they're looking to reproduce. Must is when they go into an overdrive of testosterone.
Right.
And the testosterone goes up like, I think it's like 300%
Wow.
into their body, so it floods them and makes them extremely aggressive because they feel very uncomfortable. What's crazy is if you look at the side of his head there's a temporal gland here.
Okay.
So that's his temple, like on the side of our head. And when he's in must, that swells up. And you know the old cartoons with the steam coming out? When that temporal gland gets so heavy with this testosterone buildup, it actually pushes a liquid out, and it looks like a steam that's coming out of a cartoon.
Wow.
Which I don't think many people have seen. I've seen it once or twice where it's actually happened. I've read about it, but yeah, so it comes out of there. It actually looks like that steam that comes out of something's ears on a cartoon. It's wild. And he's a big boy. He's been around for a while.
What is lifespan?
They're looking roughly 50 years in the wild.
Wow.
So that's an intelligent creature. That's something that learns through time and experience and learning from others. Otherwise, they wouldn't survive.
Right.
That's an intelligent being that's sharing
Right.
Earth with us. And because of its teeth, those tusks, which is it's a tooth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not separate. It's actually joined. That's why they're being killed, because of that.
Tusk.
Because of the tusks. It's wild.
Is that still a problem?
Yeah, it is more in East Africa. So like Tsavo National Park in Kenya. I mean, it would be a problem in South Africa, but we've got such good anti-poaching measures at the moment that it's very difficult because of the rhino protection. It already defers the elephant.
What do you happen to know what year it was that was outlawed internationally?
The trade of ivory,
Yes.
It's not outlawed internationally completely. You can go as an American to Africa, shoot an elephant, pay for it, and get the ivory back here. And what you do with it once it leaves Africa is no one's problem.
I don't know that.
Yeah, so it is illegal in national parks, obviously, because you're killing wildlife. It would be the same as walking into Grand Teton or Yellowstone and shooting a bear. It's illegal.
I thought ivory was illegal in the States. Maybe it's not.
I think with the correct permits and stuff, you can still do it.
I think my mother had an ivory necklace or
It
something
used
when I
to
was
be
a
a thing.
little kid.
Yeah, it used to be a thing.
I remember that I think. And I think in guitars, I think the nut on the top of the neck was ivory, and then 30, 40 years ago, they went to Ivoroid or whatever,
so here's
man-made material.
Here's quite a cool bird shot.
What is that?
So that is I think it's a masked weaver. I'll have to just double check because they look so similar on the head, just depending on where the black is here. But I think it's a masked weaver. So they're community nesting birds, but they go and the male actually builds this nest onto a tree branch. So he designs it. He goes and picks each blade of grass, brings it, and then weaves it with his beak. So he holds on like that, and then what he's doing is he's building the nest for the female. So now the females come in. This is a really nice society for females because they come in, the house is built for them. If she doesn't like it, she goes to here where it's connected and she cuts it off with her beak, and it drops, and he must start again until it's up to her standard.
Oh, is that really that much difficult?
It actually really isn't, now that I'm thinking about it.
From the human experience?
So the nicer your home, the better your sort of structures, and they hang here, and then what they do is there's a false entrance here.
Got it.
That you can't really see, so he'll act like he's going in and out here, but it's actually around the back. So when a snake comes to now get to the chicks or to the eggs or whatever,
right,
it has to figure out where to get in, so it makes that more difficult for a predator to get in. So it's very, very clever. I mean, that's pretty much my bird photography at the moment. But I don't think
Dad better make you work on that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Dave's going to get more involved with this, and he's also looking more into wildlife.
Is he also a photographer too?
He's just actually bought a camera here, a Sony.
Get ready.
I'm taking it back for him. So I think he's like a kid in a candy shop at the moment. He's just like waiting for this. But yeah, so so he's going to definitely take it further. He's also got
Awesome.
the 200-600, and he got the A6600.
Oh, he's ready.
He's ready. He's ready to go, and some new binoculars for birding and stuff. So he's keen. And then here, so
there you go.
There's some more rhino.
There
That's
you
more of my
go.
sort of still.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Wait,
What's floating there?
No, those are bugs, right?
Yeah, those are like flies.
I'm trying to see. Oh wait, that's the ass end of the one.
So that's the
Okay, I'm thinking to
it's the
myself,
back end of the other one.
I'm thinking that if that's a head and a snout or something, that's a weird looking animal. Okay,
So that's just the back end of mom.
Okay.
So this is it's probably about 3 years old now, 3 to going on 4 years old, and it's getting there size wise. So these guys are very well protected where I live. So if you're looking to do rhino photography specifically for me, it's easier to go to the north coast to the national park Shishlewi Umfolozi. Shishlewi is actually pronounced Hlui. I can't do it properly.
Is that French?
No, it's like it's Zulu, but it's so difficult to pronounce.
That's Zulu,
I struggle
okay.
with it.
Okay.
But what a cool place, and they essentially started leading conservation efforts in Africa on rhino, that specific national park. Yeah. There's another picture of that guy.
Look at that photo.
So yeah, it's just, and this is just from my car, hey? Like my personal pickup. Like that's what I did. We just go for like the weekend. You're just gonna pop in and photograph some rhino. It was so privileged. It's a
so
privilege
cool. That is so cool.
Here's a bigger bull walking past like the tree line.
And how far away is this from where you actually live?
2 hours north of where I live. Yeah,
Wow.
2.5 hours, depending on traffic and movement and stuff. But yeah, so that's not far. Like there's some really cool wild places, that are on our doorstep, and it really costs nothing.
So is
to
this
see
a
that.
national game preserve?
It's a national park, so like Yellowstone.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing is with our game, they are more restricted on movement around community areas and so on. So where like there's the very famous bear in the Tetons called 399. She's got 4 cubs. She's had like 20 cubs or so many years. She's 25 years old already. It's quite an crazy and amazing bear. But in that area, she moves through town and they have to push her away because there's no fences. But here we actually try and prevent people from coming in to hurt the wildlife as well. So we have to fence them into a certain degree.
Okay.
So it's controlled environment for these animals. It's not by any chance a park or a zoo. It's huge. It's massive tracts of land.
Okay.
But it is a national park.
But you said in Africa they move between countries.
Yeah. So north of where I live, there's let me just get the name correct. I think it's Tembe Elephant Park.
Okay.
And the elephants there go from there into Mozambique and back free movement. I mean, that's how they would have migrated without human beings, which is so amazing.
It's the least we could do.
Yeah, give them a wildlife highway, which, by the way, the States is really leading that kind of initiative. If you look carefully and do a little bit of reading on it, there's wildlife passovers over like big highways, and the animals are learning to actually use that. So when they're moving and they've got to cross these giant highways and so on, they actually are using this, and people are thinking about how to make this easier for wildlife. That's positive. It's very positive to come out of conservation. I just got the one other here quickly with a rhino. That's a big bull.
Wow.
So you can see the size of the horn.
I would not want to run into that.
That's essentially what we spoke about last time that took me off my feet, was a big guy like that. As I was running away, because he was injured, he wasn't happy. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But yeah.
So the skin is like, is this similar to an elephant skin?
Yeah, very. So it's very thick but very sensitive. It's amazing. So like for walking through like thick brush and thorns and so on in the bush, you can see all the scratches. That's from twigs and so on. So it doesn't hurt them, but they can feel it. So an elephant essentially its skin is so sensitive it can feel a mosquito, but it won't cut like our human skin would, like against a thorn or something. It's they built for that environment. It's pretty crazy.
Now, do poachers use the elephant hide?
Not really, because it's so big.
That would be a leather of some kind, right?
Yeah, I mean, people like, I've seen crazy things with elephant parts. Like I've seen stools made out of their feet, like a footstool. It's the literal meaning of a footstool.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. But these things are used, but you can't do much with it. It's so thick.
Yeah.
So these guys are pretty much the same like that. And so what's happening when they're getting poached is they're taking off essentially from the top of the horn here. They're cutting down past the eye. And then they're taking this off down, sometimes into the lip and into the nostril. They're removing that entire section of the animal.
While they're alive.
A lot of the time they are still alive. They're just immobile because they've been shot.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's scary stuff. And, that side of my life, I did 2 years doing that kind of stuff. And to me, it's enough.
Yeah, I bet. Now, the hippos.
Yes.
Do they also migrate in the same area as the rhino?
So hippos are just they
need water, right?
Yeah, they're more water based. So all these animals I'm showing you have the potential, without human beings and poaching that's taken place, to live and coexist.
Right.
So for example, like a big lion, I'm just going to try to find a lion photograph. We're going to go. I actually don't have any good hippo photographs at the moment. Okay. But there should be here.
Look at that.
Yeah, so that was taken in a bit of low light, so I've had to do quite a lot of editing on that for print reasons. So on the screen it's going to feel a bit blown out. But a big lion like that, if he comes across a leopard on the savannah, he's going to take that out because it's competition. It's immediate competition to the survival of his species. But because they have such big land to live in,
they won't go near each other.
That's not common. They'd rather avoid the conflict unless this leopard is now in an area where there are cubs and mama lion comes back and says...
Is that generally the case with those big animals?
Yeah,
they'll avoid the conflict?
Yeah, they try to. So male lions, for instance, if there's a male lion that's not... he's a big boy. You can see his mane is right down here. And if you're looking at his structure and so on, he's dominant. So he's in the prime of his life. You can see he's not too beat up yet. And this is in Kruger National Park, by the way.
Okay.
And... so essentially what's happening to him is that he's protecting. Males will have multiple prides of females. Females will have an alpha female and move within a certain territory, and then another pride of females will have a territory bordering that. And these males, their territory will encompass multiple prides of females and young, where leopards do the same. So a male leopard will have a large territory, and within that will be broken up by certain females.
Okay.
But if something, so their territories will overlap as lion and leopard. If a lion does come into contact with a leopard, because it's so much bigger, it will take it out, but it's not very common.
Okay.
It doesn't happen often.
Okay.
It's something I've never seen personally. I've been on a reserve when I've heard about it. So this, we were talking about the 300mm lens that I had from Canon. This photograph here, that is what I took that on. So it's looking a bit blown out there now, obviously for print reasons, but so these little guys are looking in at a 300mm lens.
And obviously you're using that distance because you don't want to get close to them because the mama ain't gonna let that happen.
Sometimes they do when they're really well habituated, these animals, to the
Really?
vehicles. Yeah, I've had lion cubs walk up. Like I used to have a Land Rover Jeep
Okay.
without a door on it because we used to track these animals. So you'd be driving down the dirt road with your guests and you'd see lion tracks. So then I've got to be able to pull off, look down, see if they're changing direction, what's happening, so I can find that animal. These little guys are very playful. So these are now actually, if I'm not mistaken, these two cubs are still alive. We still do spot patterning and whisker pattern to identify them.
It's crazy.
But they're pretty much adults now. So they've survived through, and I think it's like a 40% chance for a lion cub to actually make it in the wild.
40%.
40%. So yeah, 60%, if not less. It's probably 30 to 20%. Where these cats don't. That's just from environmental factor, and then you don't even take humans into that. So being taken out by
what can take them out?
other lions. So if they're born at the wrong time and other male lions are coming in and kicking the old guys out and taking over a pride, then they'll get rid of all the young in that pride because it's now time to pass on my genetics.
Got it.
So yeah, for mating reasons, and then those females actually come back into estrus much quicker. The lion that's on my arm, this is him here standing. It's quite a dark image and it's very overblown. Sorry, it's very overblown.
Look at that.
But that's him. So that's the guy that's here. That's Bob Jr.
Bob Jr.
Bob Jr. And his dad was Bob. Bob, and I
Will
think
there
it
be
was.
a Bob the Third?
I hope so. He's passed on quite a. He's already 14 years old and he's still in his prime. So male
What's
lions
their lifespan?
meant to be 12 to 14 years. He's just
okay.
going. He's just not stopping. He's a big dog. He's very, very famous for that.
He's the alpha male.
He is the alpha male of that section. And then this is in southern Tanzania.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So that's like in a tree, very low light again, as you can see quite a bit of that photographic stuff coming through. But this is in Ndutu. Ndutu is the southern it's a conservation area off the southern Serengeti, where the wildebeest migration goes between sort of January, February, March, and that's where they give birth to their calves, the wildebeest. And then these lions literally stay in that area and wait for this phenomenon to take place every year.
The migration.
The Great Migration. It's pretty incredible. There's this as well. This is taken.
Look at that.
So that leopard actually was taken out by another male leopard. He was a young male. When I saw him, he was actually busy looking up at mom in the tree. And just after I left the lodge that I was working at, a new male leopard came in from the Kruger National Park, and because it's not his cub or his genetics, he got taken out, unfortunately. Beautiful leopard though. It's one of my favorite images that I've
has to
ever
be
taken.
tough. I mean, you're a pretty sensitive guy. I mean, you have to.
It is hard. It's hard.
Yeah, and you know it's nature, but at the same time, you gotta sometimes be attached to some of them, right?
You do. And you know what? Like they always say to us as wildlife photographers and as guides and conservationists, don't get attached to the individual animal. Look at the bigger picture. However, like you spend enough time with something, you're going to get attached to it. It's like your dog at home. Of
course.
I used to just go out and see every morning, okay, has this cub made it? Where's this female lion? She was limping yesterday. You know, what's going on? It's like we used to get to crossroads, the dirt roads, and then you can see the tracks going backwards and forwards. It's like reading the morning newspaper for a guide. So I know, okay, it's a female leopard with slightly smaller leopard tracks following. Okay, so it would be the island female and her cub. And then you go in search of them because that's what your guests want to see that morning. So it's this whole world. But the attachment to these animals is something I've struggled with moving around Africa, because I got to know these animals so well where I used to work in the lodges that you get this whole story in your head, so that when you leave, it's almost like it's like reading a book 3/4 without knowing the finish.
Have you ever gone back and tried to read? Have you gone back and seen them again?
I haven't had time yet. I haven't had time, unfortunately. Like, it's something that I do want to do and go back. I'm planning to go to the Sabi Sands at some point. I think hopefully I can fit it in now in January for a week or so. There's a really cool golf course in the Kruger National Park as well, where the lions and the leopards and stuff come onto the golf course.
That's crazy.
It's very cool. I've played there once when I was much younger. I just never had the time when I was working in the area, but I'm going back to go and drive on the golf course, and it is crazy stories.
That is crazy.
There. Like, there's elephant on a golf course.
I'd imagine they would turf a green pretty well, right?
Yeah, they do. It's actually not even really. It's not even really those animals. It's the antelope. So the antelope, what they do is they turf up because they're eating all the fresh grass. So shortcut stuff.
Got it.
It's regrowing fresh. So I think it's a challenge running a golf course in a national park. I would
imagine just cleaning off the dung, right? I mean, the dung on.
I think it's part of the hazards. So like,
you hit a ball in the dung, you're gonna like forego that ball.
Oh, you're gonna have to drop a shot.
Yeah, I think so. And leave that one there. You can't do that.
Sure. There's one more image here that I'm looking for quickly. This is also taken in just north of where I live on a private game reserve, though. So I've only been to that reserve once, but that's sort of like, so in that situation there, that was actually raining. So if you look carefully here, you can see some of the white spots of the rain coming down as I use that image.
Got it.
And then so where my job comes in is to now help you with your photographic equipment in low light with what you've got to get the best possible image. We take that image and then we process it and we lighten it up and we see if we can sharpen it for you so that you're taking home that memory.
That's very cool.
Yeah. No, it's pretty kick-ass.
That is a majestic looking beast right there.
She's beautiful. You can have that photograph if you'd like. You can have any of these. Just let me know. I'll just send them to you.
Buddy.
Yeah.
That one was amazing.
Let me see. No, not that one. Oh, this photograph here. So this is my tattoo. This is the island female. So the leopard I just spoke about that got killed by the male. This is the mother.
Wow.
And this has been on multiple platforms like BBC Earth, Nat Geo, that kind of stuff. Yeah, this was taken on a Canon, a 7D, a 1D Mark IV.
Okay.
With the old 300 f4.
Okay.
So
lucky it focused.
So lucky. But yeah, so she's a very special leopard
That
to
is
me.
an incredible photograph. I like that photograph.
Yeah, sure. That would
actually look pretty good in this room.
I think so. We'd have to find a little spot there for it.
Well, I'll make a spot. That looks amazing.
Yeah. It was so good that I put it on my arm. That's
yes, you
I've
did.
always got her with me, and yeah, she really is part of that kind of image. That was the first time that anybody really recognized my photography. Was from that image.
What kind of press did you get on that?
So BBC Earth, like a lot of social media pages. There were some magazines.
How did they find out about that? How's that work?
I just
exactly?
tag them on social media. So like I'll tag BBC Earth, Sony BBC Earth, or Nat Geo, or whatever,
right.
in the hope that these guys are going to see my images and then like promote my photography.
Of course.
And
of course.
they often do. Yeah. So that's what I've got for you this time.
That's fantastic, buddy.
Yeah. So it's a wild world out there, and it's a crazy place that we live in. It's just. Okay.
Are you going to set your photography up in a way that even if someone doesn't go on a safari with you, they'll be able to go and buy prints?
Yeah, so that's the store that we're about to launch.
Great.
So that's, again, a lot of these are the store images. So you're looking at different sizing. I can custom edit that photograph. So let's say you take that leopard photograph and you want it switched to a black and white. I can do that for you through special request.
Got it.
So there's the standard, you pick it, it's
Very
got a
cool.
live view so you can see
You're
what
willing to do that. That's
Oh,
very cool.
100%,
A lot of
yeah.
our artists don't like doing that. But
No, I think it's also the person that wants to purchase an image from me has a certain right to pick that image in a way that they like it.
that's
as well.
a very cool philosophy.
Yeah, because it's art is how you perceive it.
100%.
And I perceive that
100%.
image in a certain way, but somebody else might have a different idea. And who knows, I might change that image to a black and white and it might actually sell more because somebody else saw the potential in it that I didn't see.
Yeah, I would think like photographs of leopards in general, because of the high contrast of the coat, would lend themselves to amazing black and white photography. Am I right or
Like
wrong?
really incredible stuff.
Yeah.
If you look at a lion, it's quite one-toned.
Yeah.
It makes it quite hard unless there's a specific where it's like on a rocky outcrop or something like that. But if you look at like leopards, as you're saying, with high contrast, especially within very green environments.
Okay.
So like that deep emerald, we call it emerald season, summer, just after spring when everything's really like dense and green.
Right.
That's emerald season. And if you change a black and white there, it actually looks really cool because it's got that high contrast in color, but you got the black on the leopard is still doing its thing. So the spots, the rosettes, that kind of stuff versus that green background, which gives you a different black and white element and a different perspective.
Sure does.
So yeah, it's pretty cool from that side of things.
Yeah, black and white photography is such an underused don't think the public generally gets it, and most photographers I don't think really get it either. You have to spend time in the discipline to get it.
You do. You have to also look at that. Not everything can be done in black and white.
100%.
It's got to be something. I mean, if you take a look at some of your images, black and white gives a certain intensity to a photograph. It's something that somebody's gone and thought about. There's a process that takes place making that a black and white photograph. Now, listen, I'm a bit young for the film side of things, and I didn't really learn film photography.
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah,
I hate to say that.
so I
People
hear that.
romanticize about it. To me, it was much more difficult
Yeah.
and not as productive because you had the cost of film and the cost of your mistakes.
Sure. Because you couldn't, if something was out of focus, that was that. You can't go back and delete it and take another photograph.
Yeah, digital is such a better way just to be a photographer, period. And if people want to romanticize about that era, I lived it.
It's not all that.
No, it was cumbersome and expensive, and the point of entry, the barrier of entry was tough.
Yeah.
Back then, because you had to get film.
Who was running the
processed
game
and-
back then? I think it was Kodak.
It's Kodak. Fujifilm was your
Fujifilm.
number 2, but
Yeah.
Kodak was the big one on the.
Whatever happened to Kodak?
film. It's an American tragedy, business tragedy.
It's no longer.
They were. I believe the part of Kodak's problem was they were not willing to admit the obvious, which was digital was here to stay.
Okay.
Kodak had a very early digital SLR. Was one of the very first ones in. I think it was done in conjunction with Nikon or somebody.
Nikon,
Sigma
I think,
or something. I
somewhere
don't know.
down there.
Yeah, and it was like and it had it was 1 megapixel. We're talking like late 90s now. Yeah, you can look it up on DP Preview. Are you familiar with that website?
I know I'm not at all.
Oh, you gotta subscribe to this.
Okay.
dpreview.com.
Okay.
That's been my go-to site since the early 2000s on digital photography, and the history of digital photography is there, and all the models and all the reviews.
Sure.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, but I think Kodak died because they were not willing to realize that filming
missed the
was
boat.
coming to an end.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to embrace digital photography, and they just
I find that interesting because if you look at a lot of your traditional photographic brands, Nikons, Canons, that side of things, and then you look at Sony sort of got into the DSLRs, the SLRs a little bit later,
no question.
but realized there was this market for mirrorless and just went bang and
Well, they were
grabbed it.
3 to 4 years ahead of everyone else before. I think the
Yeah.
other companies ended up admitting that mirrorless was the future after Sony proved it was the future.
Exactly.
You know?
But is that not how Kodak maybe got left behind? Because the photographic game now with technology in the modern day, I find it difficult to keep up. Now I plug my camera body in, it does a complete software update. If I don't do that, a guy with the same body is taking a much better image because it maybe slightly increases your frame speed, maybe
No
this
question.
or that. So you've got
Yeah.
to stay so up to date. And
I think that's part of the investment you make in the camera equipment is the commitment the company's going to keep it current and improve on it. And if you don't take advantage of that, you're not getting the full product.
No, for sure. Like it's something that when I switched from Canon to Sony as a young wildlife photographer, I mean, I didn't have to. I was very happy with DSLR and the image quality, like the 1DX Mark IIs, that kind of stuff.
Oh, can make a fine product?
Oh, it's fantastic. But then you've got to look at what I do for a living, and I travel. A DSLR
Weight.
1D is heavy.
No doubt.
It's a big boy
It's
of a
a
camera.
brick.
It's a brick, and then Sony came out with this mirrorless, and I was very skeptical. I was
We
like,
all were in the beginning.
I think we all were, yeah. And I looked at it from this very off-standish position. Let somebody else go get it first. And I watched them grow.
Well, I was skeptical because that to me was technology that was already existing in a cheap point and shoot.
Sure. And it's there. But now, like, I actually met a very interesting guy out in Wyoming. Sure. I actually didn't catch his name, but he was previously on DSLR and then waited for Canon to catch up, I think, with the new R5. I think it's the R5. I'm not 100% sure on the model, but because he didn't want to switch brands with his lenses, he had invested so much money.
Doesn't matter now. They changed their lenses.
And now they're changing their lenses. So the poor guy is still caught in a predicament. So he's been such a Canon user. So now immediately he's a bit like, maybe I can just switch to Sony because they are leading the industry.
A lot of people from Nikon went to Sony. I shot Nikon forever. And the funny thing about film days, to go back there for a second, when I grew up in the 70s and started to piss around with my paper route money and I bought a Yashica 35 millimeter camera.
Okay.
But it's Canon, and there was a Minolta, but there was an Olympus, but it was Canon and Nikon.
Yeah, those are the big dogs.
But in the film era, Canon was more price friendly than Nikon. Nikon was the pros, had your photojournalists, your right.
Yeah.
But from a price standpoint, in the digital era, that flipped. Nikon was more consumer friendly from a price standpoint. The Canon was a good 20, 30, 40% higher for 100%. I never understood why that flipped, and someone told me it was the quality of the Canon glass ended up becoming rated more superior to the Nikkor glass. I don't know if that's true or not. But
I mean, I don't know much on that point. I just know, for example, like the Sony coming in and partnering with somebody like Zeiss.
Yeah. That's my
Zeiss, that's the correct way
That's
to
the
say
lens I have, the Zeiss 18 to 35. Yeah,
my man.
It's a nice lens. It's a nice
that
lens.
Is, for what you're doing, that's power.
Yeah.
That's power.
And 16 on a full frame, 16 millimeters is plenty wide to do property photography.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, so I had to go do some research on this whole wide angle thing because traditionally as a wildlife photographer, that's not what you're really looking at. But then you get yourself into situations like I've shown, and
you need it.
You
at
really
least
need
24 millimeters.
So
right?
24, from what my research says, is the closest thing to the human eye.
Oh.
It's 24
I
millimeters.
thought it was 35. Okay.
So
cool.
I read about the 35,
cool.
and then I dived in deeper, and they say with
that's cool. No.
varying light and how your eye focuses,
Interesting.
it's apparently 24.
Okay.
I'm open to correction on that one.
Okay.
But as far as I know, 24. And that's why your lenses generally, so your Nikkor, your Canon, your Elite, your G Master lenses with Sony start, and their best lenses are 24 to 70.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's even always been the way.
Yeah.
I think Canon's finest and Nikon's finest, and they're always some of the most pricey lenses were always a 24 or 28 to 70 or a 24 to 70.
Well, if you take my 70-200 f2.8, it way outprices my 200-600. Yeah, I can do
because it has that extra f-stop. Isn't that amazing? That one
f-stop,
bit of
quality of glass.
Yeah, quality glass, and then how much more light it's willing to take in.
Exactly, it's insane, and it's this size versus this size.
Until someone really understands the process, so if you tell them just the basics of aperture, they'll say that's only one f-stop. All that extra money and wait for one f-stop. That one f-stop makes all the difference.
Huge, like massive.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know, and I think just going like. And being able to show people the wildlife and through photography and having the knowledge that I'm gaining is going to be and make a difference one day. Mm-hmm. That's my goal with my career and my job, is to make a difference for wildlife. I can't be running around doing anti-poaching and all those kind of things all the time. I've been there, I've done it. It's a very hard line of work. It's not cut out for everybody. However, we need that element, and telling stories about the people involved in conservation is also extremely important.
Sure it is.
You know, and these things like we spoke about, the Shell and these corporations and the advantages and the Chinese government and how they're controlling the world at the moment is so detrimental. We have two lungs on planet Earth. The Earth has two lungs. One is blue and one is green. We are destroying, or have pretty much destroyed, the green lung. So why are we looking offshore for oil and natural gas? Because there's nothing left. It's running out.
Right.
We now have to go somewhere else. So essentially we're going to go and destroy our second lung.
Right.
We're there in 2021.
Right. Yeah.
And it's sad and it's concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Because what are we leaving behind?
Well, again, it comes back to that selfishness. We're kicking the can down the road.
Of course.
And I think that philosophy is greater now than it ever has been.
Oh, for sure.
For all kinds of really important issues.
Of course.
We're living for the moment. We're living in the day. We really don't give a flying.
It comes down to that instant gratification that I spoke about, like me wanting to move to the States because things are faster. So it's essentially as these guys are just taking and taking and taking and not worrying about the knock-on effect. And it does come with instant gratification. People don't want to wait for fuel. There's a fuel shortage.
And it's funny too, like there's just very little very little moderation in the consciousness of society today.
I agree.
No one can look at problem solving used to be
work it
art.
out. Yeah.
It was an art, like to do it. Like there was a way to mediate and come to an agreement and each side give a little and compromise, and out of that some really amazing things can happen.
Oh, for sure.
But if both sides are not willing, if both sides are living in absolutes, it's absolutely this way or it's absolutely this way. Well, you know what? I mean, there's a way to do capitalism the right and decent and humane way.
For sure.
But there's also a way to ignore that as well. And I think from a selfishness
100%,
standpoint, we're just doing that now.
That's what we've become as humans. And we've discussed such broad topics, like when we've spoken already. I mean, it's the second time I'm here, and the world has developed so much in 2 weeks of me being here. And I saw you 2 weeks ago, and I'm back, and look at everything that's happening.
I know.
And that is so frightening, because
the pace of everything
is just like bang, bang, bang every day.
The pace of everything.
It's crazy. And like wildlife and environmental issues, unfortunately, because it doesn't make money the way that industry does, gets left behind.
Right.
And if we don't open up our voices and our hearts to this point, and just look inside yourself and think, that's an intelligent being. I'm not saying that it's the same as me, but it is an intelligent being that's been around a lot longer than I have.
Amen
if you look
to
at
that.
if you look at a bull elephant, he's walked planet Earth longer than I have at 27 years old. I can learn something from observing that animal. I can learn something. Why are we losing the ability to sit back and learn and listen?
It really comes down to that selfishness and a lack of humility. If you don't have humility, and humility starts, it's a learned thing. You've got to teach the young to be humble.
Sure.
That humility is not a sign of weakness. And I think there's a mistake in society today. I believe that oftentimes it gets mistaken as weakness, and kind of they're pushing humility out of the human.
I think
discussion.
everybody's pushing their own success so hard that you're forgetting about how you got there and what gave you the ability to get there. Without wildlife, I don't have a job. I literally, what do I do? So if I'm not a custodian of conservation and the efforts that need to be put into preserve that, am I really doing my industry justice?
Right.
I don't think so.
Good point.
And it's something that I think so many people get sensitive over, is actually taking a step back and saying, you know what, you guys are wrong. Oh, well, why are we wrong? Well, for this and this reason. And it's not me attacking you or being offensive. I'm just making an educational standpoint on that might be incorrect.
Right.
And we've become so sensitive, but for the wrong reasons.
Got it.
I'm very open to the whole accepting of the world and progression, and we need to progress as humans. It's important. Human beings have an ingrained part of us that need to progress and grow into something else. We need to get industry to grow, but you know what? Don't forget where we come from.
Absolutely. I mean,
and without the natural world, that's not going to happen.
No, it comes down to, I think, also to just being humane and just this whole concept of being decent stewards of the planet. And I, there's a lot of ways to do that, but if you don't have any feeling or empathy for the other creatures on the planet, we've shown many times we don't have empathy for the other humans. If you don't have empathy for the other humans, it's hard to have probably empathy for.
I mean, look at the way we treat each other.
Right.
Like, I'm
unbelievable.
I'm lucky enough to go through airports and stuff, and you just see people are so self-absorbed that they walk into you in an airport. They don't even look up from their phone.
Is it like that outside of this country?
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately,
like you find that like in the Netherlands, everywhere you go.
I think people are politer in certain places. I feel like Americans, there's this rat race that everybody's stuck. When you walk into an airport, you can feel it. There's like that feeling, like go, 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 go. Where in Amsterdam, for example, I think people are a lot more laid back. There's reasons for that in their law.
They're all stoned.
They're all stoned and they're doing their own thing, So people are definitely a lot more relaxed in that kind of environment, but I also feel like it's the way they live. Everybody is pushing that progression, and you have to be bigger, better, faster. But you're forgetting about having a little bit of moral and thinking about your fellow human. So if we can't think about our fellow human beings in a situation, how are we going to be able to protect the natural world?
Yeah.
It takes people to step back and think, hey, it's not about me. It's about that animal that is dying out in front of my eyes. I'm going to be in Kenya in April to look at photographing a melanistic leopard. I think we spoke about it last time. But at the same time, I'm going to go and see the last two northern white rhinos on planet Earth.
Okay.
The bull actually died 2 years ago. There is no more genetics. They are the two last females on Earth. They've been trying to artificially inseminate the female so that she falls pregnant. The one has been retired because if she goes down one more time, she's not going to wake up. There's one female there.
Wow.
I'm
That's
going
it.
to go like see the last 2 northern white rhinos
In the world.
in the world. There is, after these 2 animals, the subspecies of the northern white rhino. So you got southern, like the ones I was showing you where I live, and then you've got northern. They are slightly bigger, but it's done. It's over. It's game over. That's it.
Wow.
And I'm watching at 27 years old the extinction of a subspecies.
Mm-hmm.
Take Borneo, for example, with the palm oil and all that kind of stuff, orangutans, displacement. It's not just the fact that, okay, these guys are planting these plantations and so on, but these animals don't eat that.
Right.
So you're taking all this land for one thing, but you forget that those palm trees don't produce the same oxygen that a natural rainforest does.
Yeah.
So in the long run, you are actually killing your children and your grandchildren.
Talk a little bit about the rainforest.
Oh yeah, sure.
Before we split, because we really didn't touch on it. That's a part of what you do. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, sure. I'm looking more to get sort of involved and heading to. I mean, the core of this is South America. I mean, the Amazon is
the Amazon, right? When we talk about the rainforest, you're talking about the Amazon.
Yeah, I mean,
the
everybody
Amazon's a beast.
It's a beast of a place. It really is. I don't know the exact comparisons, but the cloud movement off the Amazon is literally a floating river. It produces so much moisture and oxygen that it is a floating river.
Wow.
So go look at the amount of water that it's transferring is absolutely incredible.
That is crazy.
And the variety of species. I think, is it Costa Rica that's on the border of the Amazon there, just north? I think it's got the highest variation or the most species of like different animal species in the world.
Wow.
South America is like this massive melting pot of just things happening all the time, and evolution, and whether you believe in evolution or not, there is an element of evolution because we learn as human beings.
No question.
So that's happening there. The Amazon is a different beast. I haven't stepped foot there yet, but it's definitely on the list. It's going to happen.
Are there a lot of similarities between South America and the continents of South America and Africa?
Yes, definitely. I think it's if you look at it from a third world perspective, think of how we grow up. It's very different to first world America or Europe. Mm-hmm. So you can draw a lot of comparisons on how exploitation of wildlife and natural areas is happening, because what I see happening is, again, it's Chinese investment and so on, and yes, that grows an economy. It does. Right. But the natural world's destruction that's taking place on that is just it's horrific. If you look at the Amazon, I think Sir David Attenborough, you must know about David Attenborough and his the destruction of wildlife and the wild places is down like 80% in one guy's life.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing fact. Mm-hmm. This is just something that we can't stop, and unfortunately you get people like Greta Thunberg, who really is trying to do the right thing, is too young to really hold her ground against politicians, but she's got the right idea. Yeah. And I'm not saying you need to be an extremist in what you do, but education is key once again. And I think through education and...
Well, she's being used.
She's being used now as a public figure.
On both sides.
Yeah, on both sides. So she's being used to say, oh, well, everybody's bad and corporation is bad. If corporations just did things above board...
Ethically.
Ethically, the world would be a different place.
And they still could exist and have all the fruits of their labor.
Oh,
It never has to be like it is.
No, you don't have to take. Just give a little bit back. So back to the rainforest. I mean, there is something South America is just so well known for, but not many people go.
Interesting.
Think about how famous the Amazon rainforest is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I know maybe 2 or 3 people that have been. It's pretty wild. Like you see a lot of it on TV, but because it's so remote and so dense, like it's this essentially like an untouched place, because people are finding new species there all the time.
It's also dangerous as shit, though. I mean, like, I'm not going to drop me in the middle of the rainforest and expect to pick me up next week. That ain't going to happen.
No. I mean, these guys, they went and explored these places first off, like the early explorers. Yeah, okay, they did things wrongly, and but the guts to go into the South American rainforest and not know where you're going, just to find...
That must be like another planet.
It literally is like me going to the moon, because I've got so much information at hand that when I go to these places, I'm so prepared. Right. Well, in my mind, you're never fully prepared, but you're getting there. But like, these guys that went into these areas and started like Darwin and these guys, and they recorded these things, right? It's absolutely incredible. And that gave us essentially knowledge to build a better world, but we're not doing it, and it's sad. So I just think so much is going to progress, obviously, until the next time I see you, but we just need people to, and I'm not about this whole thing on Instagram and social media about this woke movement. That's not what I'm pushing at all. I'm saying pay attention.
Yeah.
Open your eyes up. There's a whole world out there, and there's so many people, even in Pittsburgh, that could just gain so much from being like, okay, well, I'm going to go read about Shell and what they're doing, and because where I put my gas in makes a difference.
You got me interested right now.
Yeah, where I put my gas in,
100%.
that directly affects.
Well, it's the only pushback society has hit him in the pocketbook. I mean, it's the only thing that a rogue corporation or a corporation is doing rogue behavior. Is the only way to correct it outside of legislation or outside
boycotters.
Exactly right. You got to hit him in the pocketbook. They have to be incentivized to make a change.
Exactly. So I just think if you just, instead of, I know it might be a mile or two down the road, but rather go to the BP. Because I know BP is not innocent. Don't get me wrong.
No, nothing anymore. I won't. This goes way back. I won't buy Citgo gasoline because of what goes on with them, and that's a personal preference for me.
Sure.
I don't. And some people might say I'm full of shit. It's just how I feel. Yeah. So that's my personal boycott. That's been going on for 10, 15 years of my life.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm just asking. That's my little.
That's your fight back, but you know what? You're understanding what everything I've been trying to say today.
Absolutely.
It's the small step, and everybody thinks, well, it's just me, and I'm not going to make a difference. But if we all think like that, there is no difference.
Right.
There's no change.
That's how we get steamrolled as a people.
As everybody's trying to do, well, you know what? I don't want to drive a mile extra. The Shell's right here, so no one will know that I just popped in.
Right.
But you know what? Anybody that listens to this is going to know that I've now said it, and I hope it plays on your mind, because there's so much destruction taking place. If we don't start making individual changes,
no doubt,
we down a losing road here. We've picked the wrong path.
No doubt.
And you know what? It's so difficult. I'm not a wildlife warrior. I'm there to educate people, but I'm not going to tie myself to a tree. It's just something that I think people need to understand, an entire situation, and it's so widespread that it's becoming difficult for me to keep up to date with all this travesty that's taking place in the natural world.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens going forward. If this is stopped off the coast of South Africa with Shell, it's a massive win for the natural world.
No doubt.
Big time.
No doubt.
I think Shell needs to be prepared for a lot of pushback. Locals are not going to take it. And I think I'm hoping organizations like Greenpeace and those kind of guys are going to get involved, because to me it's important. There's guys that are protecting whales and so on, but then we need to see you on our coast now. Come and join our fight. It's a call to arms. You guys need to, it's that call to action.
Yeah.
Make a difference. You know what? It's so easy. Just go online, look it up, Wild Coast of South Africa and the Shell debacle. And sign the petition. Sign the petition.
Right on.
Because petitions go a long way, because once they catch traction, it makes the media.
Oh yeah, especially in this very uber media-centric world, for social media world. Yeah. I mean, if there ever was going to be a time to use the power of the people, we're holding it in our hands. Quit watching the Kardashians. Do something practical
exactly.
with it.
The Kardashians don't care about you.
Say it louder, buddy.
Oh, they don't care, guys. The natural world is here. It's there for you to go and explore. Get out there, explore. Even here in Pennsylvania, if you don't have the means or the ability to go, you have deer, you have turkeys, you have raccoons. Don't see these things
as system.
Ohio Pile. I've been out there. I've actually stayed in the park.
Right on.
Because I felt like if I'm going to be part of a community here that's away from home from me, I need to understand what you guys have.
Right on.
And that's why I've bought into the Pittsburgh culture.
Obviously so.
The Yinzers.
He's a Yinzer. When do you think you're going to be back?
So I'm hoping to be back in summer.
Oh, cool.
Hopefully it won't be so damn cold for me.
That's true.
Yeah, I try bounce my life around summer. And then, unless I have to go to Wyoming or Montana.
You're supposed to wait till you're retired to do that nonsense.
Yeah, you know what the nice thing is that there's so much more wildlife in summer areas. So,
you got a good point. Plus, it's a little easier on the on the chill factor.
Yeah, playing contact sport and stuff like that, walking through snow is not that fun, so I can do it for short periods of time. But yeah, no, it's epic being here, and once again, like experiencing this place and this city.
Yeah, right.
It's
on,
so
dude.
unique. I will always come back.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I will always be back.
And I want you here.
100%,
We've talked about
100%.
it. You know, when the moment you land.
Oh no, it's done. Like 2 shows every single time.
Sounds like a plan to me, buddy.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, brother.
Cool.
All right, and it's SafariSmiths.
SafariSmiths.
Check .com.
Yeah, .com. So
Yeah.
www.safarismiths.com.
Social media.
Yeah, social media. You can
Facebook,
find
Instagram.
me.
The photos are on Instagram.
Yeah, so if you go look through all my photographs and stuff, it's all there. The store, I'll be making an announcement online.
Very cool.
About the store going up. It's holiday season. My plan is, at the moment, I'm just busy talking to it. It's not confirmed, so don't hold me to it. But I am looking at giving 10% away of every photograph that's sold back to a conservation effort.
Oh, wow. Right on.
Yeah.
Right
So
on.
that's my goal.
Absolutely.
I'm still in talks with this effort, but that's my goal. So if you're purchasing something, you actually, instead of buying something for anybody, it can be online. You can get it printed here. It's all American based.
Right on.
It's not in Africa.
Very
It doesn't.
cool.
So my photographs come from Africa, but it's printed here for you guys to make it more convenient for the market. But there will be 10 to 20% going back to a wildlife conservation.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
All right.
I
Thank you.
will see you till next time, right?
Definitely.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye.
Salutes.
Cool. Thank you so much, man.
Dude, good time?
I could keep going.
That's fucking great, man.